Jai Kamani Maya, Maya, hitva brahmavatam tvam prashayitva dinayamyo sayam prava shishyamasandau punarayana kala krevati gachari aye tadavinyamunchati ashavasham. So, as we discussed last Sunday, that we were talking about the sixth verse, isn't it? That we talked about this example of Virochana and Indra going to Prajapati to acquire spiritual knowledge. Virochana is Mahabali's father. Mahabali's father is Virochana. That means he is the head of the demonic community. And Indra, from the demigod's head, they together went to acquire transcendental knowledge from Prajapati, and Prajapati sent them in the direction without any clear instructions to them. Finally, you have seen how Virochana's people have come out, that they have, based on the body, they have made their propaganda, and accordingly, that the demonic species has come in that way. From Virochana it has come. So, you can see there that without the knowledge of the self, knowledge of the soul, bodily identification bring back another tradition in this world. Their Sampradaya, Virochana Sampradaya it's called. They brought it together in that way. And they respect this gross body even after the soul has left this body. Even after the soul has left this body. That is why Advaita Swami mentions there in the 6th verse, Gatavati Vayo Deha Vaya Vidhyadi Tasman Kaye. Gatavati Vayo Deha Vaye. That the Vayu or the prana inside the body has left, and once that life air has gone from the body, then nobody cares for this gross body anymore. The proof of that is, as soon as death happens, everybody wants to dispose this body very quickly. Because they know very well that they have been identifying with that has left the body. In other words, we were relating to that body only because of the presence of the soul in that body. As soon as the soul has left the body, Gatavati Vayo Deha Vaya Vidhyadi Tasman Kaye. So, that body, when the soul has left, everyone is frightened about that body after that, isn't it? So, so many things that this, first thing is this misunderstanding that body is the self. Body is the self. And there is either other things which is inside this body, then without knowing the self within that body, so many other identifications with the self. For example, when we don't want to know about the soul, when self-realization hasn't happened in someone, normally what happens, he identifies with the body, and apart from the body, and many other, what they call as buddhi, other thoughts, which are related with this body. And he brings that, and based on that, because of various identifications with various identities in this, based on the body, he continued to act ignorantly throughout his childhood, boyhood, youthhood, and in the old age. So, and that continues to happen. He cannot avoid that, because once you have identified with the body and all other designations that has come through the body, if you have taken them as your identity, then you will be forced to act in a particular way. You will not be able to free yourself from that. That's what happens to everybody, isn't it? From boyhood, youthhood, old age, all through life, we are identifying with the society, identifying with various designations in this world. And then he started thinking that apart from that, what else happens to him? I am doing this work and the results has to come from that. I am doing this work. That is the greatest obstacle, which we call it as kartrutva. I am the doer. I am the doer comes from that. So you can see here that even in sadhana that comes, I am doing the sadhana. That also difficult to take it out. You can see in Prahlada's case, we mentioned this also, that Prahlada did not do any sadhana, did he? He didn't do any sadhana. And on the other hand, if you look at Dhruva Maharaj's penances in the Bhagavatam, that what all he did throughout his 6 months penances in the forest. So I mentioned there also that Prahlada did not perform any penances. Dhruva Maharaj performed serious penances for 6 months' time. For knowledge, it doesn't require austerities or penances. Knowledge requires Shraddha. Knowledge requires Shraddha. Whereas, if you are worshipping a form, and if you want that form to appear in front of you, whichever form that is, either Krishna's form or Ramchandra's form or Narasimhamurti's form, any form, if you have any attachment, and if you want to continue that worship of the form, then austerities and penances are required. So that is the main difference. You can see here that Prahlada heard, simply heard from Srinarayan Maharshi while being in the womb of Mother Kayatu. And while hearing alone, he acquired spiritual realization. Isn't it? Simply by hearing, he realized himself. So, you will see in the Bhagavatam, if you look how it is mentioned, it mentions there that if you look into the 7th canto, 4th chapter, 38 verse, Asinam Paryarannasnam Shayana Pravivan Bhuvan Na Anusandatamedani Govinda Paridam Vidaha. Asinam Paryarannasman Shayana Pravivan Bhuvan Na Anusandatamedani Govinda Paridam Vidaha. Prahlada's state of consciousness. That's what is spoken there. Asinan Pariyadan Asnan. While he was sitting, or he was walking, or while he was eating, or Shayana Pavivan Bhuvan, while he was lying down, or while he was speaking, in all these times, Na Anusandatham Evani Govinda Paridam Vida. Because he was completely in that state of realization, self-realized state, he did not know what body was doing. What the body was doing. Things were happening. Body was doing various things. But consciousness was always in the state of realized state. In the state of not connection with the body. So that is what mentions there, that when the realization happens, that although many things the body will perform, not another thing. That means, I am doing all these things, that concept is not there in Prahlada. Prahlada was eating, Prahlada was sleeping, walking, doing various things. But I am doing, that has gone away from Prahlada. That's why it mentions there, Na Anusandhanam Etani Govinda Paridam Vida. This is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means this, that I am doing so many things, that I am the person who is doing. Kartrutvam has gone away from Prahlada. Prahlada never said that I am doing. He didn't know that he was eating. Food was going in, but he never thought that he is eating. That in the many Mahatmas case, they will tell us these things, that even while taking the food, Krishna who is present inside, he is eating. Or while walking also, he thought, Na Anusandhathe, Vedani Govinda Paridam Vida, that all those times I am eating, or I am sleeping, or I am doing, that wasn't there. That wasn't there in him. So that is where the change has to happen. The change must happen in that state. So everybody has to eat, everybody has to sleep, and everyone has to do various things. These are all normally in the Shastra they are called Vikalpam. They are called Vikalpam. So, in all these things, I am doing this, I am eating, I am sleeping, or I am walking. When that joins that, then it has become Vikalpam. Eating, sleeping, walking, and doing various things is not wrong. But when it gets mixed with I am doing that, it becomes a Vikalpam. That is what Bhagavatam is saying. That to anything, when you connect with the personality with that I am doing that, then it is called Vikalpam. It is called Vikalpam. Because that is how it happens, isn't it? So, if that I am doing, if that's not there, all these things will still happen. We have this misunderstanding that if I am not doing it, how will it happen? Isn't it? That's how normally we think about it. That if I am not doing it, how will it happen? It will still happen. Because body will do its work. It will do all kinds of transactions in this world. It will do the work and it will fight the war, and all this, when all these things are happening with the body, inside this realization that I don't come into it. I don't come into that. Inside, if I means that false ego, jiva form, that if jiva doesn't wake up there and I am get involved in that, and that will not, that is the perfect state. Things are not going to stop, it will continue to happen. In all the Mahatma, great personalities who have realized the truth, if you look into their life very seriously, you will see this happening all the time. Take for example, Jatakarika, Shugaprabhashi, Dattatreya Maharshi, Rishabhadev, and many other personalities in recent times also. Things are happening through their body. Kartrutvam has gone away from inside and the river has escaped from there. So, that is why, if you that is as far as in the process of knowledge is concerned, if you mention the same thing to the path of bhakti, if you talk about that if you have completely surrendered to Krishna, body is not mine anymore, and body is Krishna's body, mind is not mine anymore, it is Krishna's mind, and saying to the intelligence also. In other words, many great devotees, they lived in this world in that understanding. Things are happening through the body, through the mind, through the intelligence. Everything is under Krishna's control. Krishna is doing it through the body, through the mind, through the intelligence. I am not doing anything. This is the consciousness of a realized devotee. A realized jnani's case, what happens? All these things are happening same time, but he is not doing anything. Everything is happening through the body, through the mind, through the intelligence. So that separation of me, the jiva, from the activities that's happening to the body, mind and intelligence has happened. And that what separation is, what is Prahlada is talking about here. Asinam samvishaskrishtan, Asinam paryadannastan, Shayana pravidan ruvan, na anusandatame kani, Govinda paridam hidaha. Na anusandhana. The anusandhana has stopped. That's the most important thing. We all have anusandhana at the moment, isn't it? Whenever we do something, I'm doing it. I'm eating, I'm sleeping, I'm walking, or I'm running, whatever it is. Any activities this body or the mind or the intelligence is doing, linked with that, I exist. The jiva's false ego exists there. But in the case of a devotee or a jnani, what has happened is that I has gone away from there. Krishna is doing that. Krishna is doing that through the body, through the mind, through the intelligence. Krishna is doing, body is just functioning in that. That is what says here, na anusandhana. Edani Govinda Paridamya. Anusandhana means that. Anusandhana means, this is what is called Anusandhana. Anusandhana means that linking myself with that activity, what is happening in the body, mind or intelligence. That is why you will see in the next few verses in that chapter how Prahlad performed his life in this world. Kochil Rudani Vaikuntham, Chinda Shabla Chenanaha, Kochil Asarida Chinda, Udayani Kochil, Nadani Kochil Kando, Village Jani Kochil, Kochil Bhavana, Yutta Sanmayo, Anushagaraha, Kochil Pragadushni, Aste Samspashanaha, Aspanda Pranayan, Saida, Nidekshana, Sautama Shogavada, Arvindayo, Shevya Sangaladaya, Tanvandaram Prabhuti Atmayo, Asangadina, Yamanashamam Yatha. So, Shivadram Narada Maharshi is saying there, Narada Maharshi was happy to talk about Prahlada because of all his Narada Maharshi's disciples in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prahlada is very unique, isn't it? As we know, Narada Maharshi had sent many people into the spiritual path. He had taken to the spiritual path and he had sent them back to the spiritual world later on. So, among all of them, Prahlada is very unique for Sri Narada Maharshi. First of all, coming from a very demoniac background, Hiranyakashipu's son. His mother, Prahlada's mother, was protected by Narada Maharshi. When Hiranyakashipu went to the forest for performing the penances, Narada Maharshi took Kayadu and told her to stay in the ashram. And it was then that Kayadu was pregnant and Narada Maharshi inspected Kayadu, but the effect was on Prahlada, who was within the womb of Kayadu. So Prahlada hid everything, and when he came out from the womb, he was realized. He has realized the truth already. So imagine the power of that instruction from Narada Maharshi and the receptivity in Prahlada. Both the receptivity of Prahlada in the womb and Sri Narada Maharshi's instructions while within the womb of the mother. The result was that when he came out, already he didn't see this world like the way we see this world. He has seen this world completely different. He was saying, that's why he mentions that Anusantatvam Ekani Govinda Pahiramhida, which means that when he came out, already he saw this world in a realized state. For us, we only see the world. We don't see Krishna here. Whereas Prahlada saw Krishna here, he didn't see the world. That was it. Govinda Parijamhila, he says. Krishna was there everywhere. Wherever he looked in whichever direction, there was only Krishna everywhere. That realization has come while within the womb itself. That is Prahlada's unique realization, and which Sri Narada Maharshi was very fond of talking about it. You see in the Bhagavatam, all other cantos, Shubhadra Maharshi has spoken. But when it came to the 7th canto, you can see it's mostly Sri Narada Vacha. Narada Maharshi is speaking the 7th canto. Why? Because he found something very substantial to talk about. As far as his disciple Prahlada is concerned, he wanted to talk about himself. He didn't want anybody else, not even Shubhadra Maharshi or Vedavyas. He wanted to speak himself. That is how it will appear in the Bhagavatam. So, Kochil Druvati, then what all he was doing so many things. What was that? Sometimes he was completely get absorbed in the soul, in the self-realization. And the result, and he will also think why others are not doing the same thing. He was seeing that other people are not interested in spiritual life and Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he will cry very loudly. He will cry very loudly. Sometimes thinking about the transcendental activities of Krishna, he used to get intoxicated with that and then he will smile in an uncontrolled way. He will laugh about it and because of the blissful experience of that. Sometimes he used to sing about the glories of Krishna very loudly. And sometimes he will chant the holy name and sometimes he will dance very happily, singing about Krishna's pastimes. And many times he used to imitate various activities of Krishna, what he has performed in this world, identify with them and go through those pastimes all the time. Sometimes due to bhakti in the heart, he will feel such immense bliss inside, and sometimes he will cry and tears will come from his eyes, and sometimes he is very, very quiet. So he was a particularly very peculiar child he was. And it was difficult for Hiranyakashipu or many others to understand him because of this peculiar nature in him. because of the realization inside. What can be done? Very much similar. You can see it is very much similar to Jadabharata's behavior, or even like the Tathaya Maharshi and many others. Similar nature in him. This has already developed in Prahlada. That is why it is mentioned here. Anusandatham edhani govinda parinam hidaha. Na anusandatham. He will not anusandhanam. Anusandhanam means that he will not identify with the activity. And so many things are happening inside, but always that realized consciousness inside, never identifying with the body. Always an identity will be with the self inside and with the self inside. And who is that self? That he knows very well, which he mentioned before, isn't it? That he mentioned while teaching the boys. He said to them, he said, what did he say? He said to them, my dear friends, he says, that it is not very difficult to please Krishna, he says, isn't it? In one verse he mentions there, that it's not very difficult to please Krishna. He told who said this to his friends. How did he put it? He said that in the 6th chapter, you will see there, 18th to 19th verse. Nahachuram pranayado bhagavayaso asuralmajaham almadwal sarvabhutanam siddhatval ikasarvada. He says to them, Nahachuram pranayado, to please Krishna is not very difficult, my dear friends, he says to them. Why? Bhagavayaso asuralmajaham. Asuraja means the children of all other asuras who are present there, who was going to his school. He is telling them, it is not difficult to please them. But it is not very difficult to please them. Why? Because Atmatval Sarvabhudanam Siddhatva Arihasarvadam. Atmatval Sarvabhudanam. Krishna is present in everyone. We have already got Krishna inside us. We have already got him inside. Siddhatva Sarvada, he says. That so there is nowhere else you have to go and to get him from anywhere else. This is Prahlada's main important teaching there. He says, Atmatval Sarvabhudanam. He is present inside everyone as the soul. He is present there. Siddhatva, he is already got it. He has Sarvada, everybody. Everybody has got it. It's just a question of finding him there inside. He's already there, but realizing that realization is the only thing. That's what he mentions there. Now here, you can see here, so in all these activities, we mentioned that eating, sleeping and all other bodily activities, relationship with the mind, working, everything will continue. But at the same time, when you join that you are the doer, when you join that along with that, it becomes what is called a vikalpam. It becomes a vikalpam, isn't it? So, when there is no vikalpam, that means when I am not doing that, it's happening to the body, to the mind, to the intelligence. Everything will happen. That is what it says here. Govinda Parinam Vida. It mentions there in that verse, isn't it? Na anusandatham enani Govinda Parinam Vida, he says. In other words, that realized state, even for a moment, it is not going away from him. And all kinds of activities come up, everything is happening, all work is happening, but nothing is touching him. Nothing is touching Prahlada. Remember this, we mentioned before also, that so many things are happening inside. Thought waves are coming, chittavrittis are coming and going through. Body is engaged in various activities, mind is busy also, intelligence is working, but still always in touch with the screen behind, always in touch with the screen behind. So, in other words, without touching the screen, Swarupam, that is the Swarupam or identity, isn't it? Without touching that, activities are going on in the body, in the mind and intelligence. What does that mean? It means external activities, boyhood, youthhood, old age, all all activities will continue to go on in the way it is meant to happen. But none of them will touch the self inside. None of them will touch the self inside. You can see how Krishna himself showed this to us in all the pastimes. Krishna performed the several childhood pastimes, isn't it? Bala Leela. Krishna's famous Bala Leela. And nobody else has performed Bala Leela like the way Krishna has performed, isn't it? And when Acharya is mentioning here, if you look into that words, Balastaval Krida Saktaha, Tarunastaval Taruni Saktaha, Vruddhastaval, that is verse number 7, Balastaval Krida Saktaha. So, another point is that in that line, Balastaval Krida Saktaha, in there, very important there, the word Saktaha is important, not Kridaha. Balastaval Krida Saktaha. That Saktaha is the word important, not Krida. Why is that? You have to remember this very well, because children, you cannot separate them from Krida. They will play. They will play. But even while playing, Krishna was in that stage of self-realization. No Sakti there. That is the important thing. That means Krishna has played everything like a child, isn't it? He had most of his childhood pastimes. When you look, he was playing around with, never went to school, played with the children to play, whole day playing. So that is that age, childhood, simply playing all the time. But what is the difference? Krishna's playing and other children playing, no attachment anywhere. Sakti is not there. Krida was there, Sakti was not there. That's why that verse is spoken like that. Balastaval Krida Saktaha. Krida will continue, but Sakti was not there. That is the difference between a conditioned child and Krishna. In Krishna's case, Sakti was not there, Krida continued. Our children also will play, but Sakti is very strong to play, isn't it? Attachment to play. So, it is from there that all of Krishna's life, if you look at, you will see this detachment from everything, Anasakti Yoga. Krishna calls it as Anasakti Yoga. Able to live in this world and function in this world without any attachment to anything. Completely detached from everything. That is Krishna's life. If you look into all his pastimes, childhood pastimes, you will see there, when everything was going on, no attachment everywhere. No attachment everywhere. The whole life was a game for Krishna. Whole life was just a game. And Lokavastu Leela Kaivalyam, Vedavyasa Maharshi mentions about Krishna's life in this world. That is why it's called a Leela. Why is it called a Leela? Because for Krishna, it was not a serious business like us. We take life so seriously, isn't it? But for Krishna, life is Lokavattu Leela Kaivalyam. Logam for Krishna is nothing for a playground. It was a play that was going on here. That's why it's called Leela. How did it become a play? Because the I am doing this, is not there in anything. And similarly, every activity after that also, no Sakti. Sakti means attachment in anything. That Tarunastaval Taruni Saktaha mentions there. That means in the youth, man get attached to women, women get attached to men. That is a normal thing in this world. But if you look at that way, if you take that as a moral principle, the first person to get arrested is Krishna for what he has been attached to. Everywhere he has been playing this, isn't it? His attachment to the gopis. There was no attachment inside, but activities continued through the body. That is the difference. So many things he has done, but na saktaha. There is no Sakti anywhere. Asakti anywhere. That is what he is talking about. So, he had a childhood relationship with the gopis, and then he had, how do you know? Because after all that pastimes with the gopis, Krishna left Vrindavan and went to Mathura, never to come back. That shows that strength of detachment from everything what was happening there. Normal case, it is very difficult to imagine that when Krishna left Vrindavan and went to Mathura, probably he was about 9 or 10 years old. And all the gopis were so attached to Krishna, and Krishna also had a relationship with the gopis in that way. But once he has left Vrindavan and went to Mathura, never he had come back to Vrindavan. Why? No Saptaha. Krida continued, but no Saptaha. He mentions there. Vruddhasaval Chinda Saptaha. Now, if you look all these things in Krishna's life, what we are talking about, you will see that even at the old age, even at Krishna's old age, let's call it his old age for Krishna. Although Krishna never gets old, but that in his time in this world, the last many years when he was in Dwarka, that time also he was busy with the administration and working with Ugrasena and others, and sons and grandsons, they were all grown up by then. And even he was busy with all of them. And what was the greatest problem in the old age? Ajay Swami mentions there, Vatam Kobi na Prachali Gehe. There is a verse there, you will see there. He mentions, Vatam Kobi na Prachali Gehe. Yavru Pavano Nivasati Gehe. No, sorry. Vatam Kobi na Prachali Gehe. You will see one line. That the old age is like that. Fifth verse. Yavat Vito Vajana Satta Stavan Nija Parivaryo Jataha Pashad Jivali Jarjana Dehe Vatam Kobi na Prachali Gehe. Vatam Kobi na Prachali Gehe means that in the old age, the biggest problem is nobody inquires about you. They write you off very easily. Because we must have turned them off others in the same way. So the same thing happens to us also, isn't it? So, even at Krishna's and then people will say, nobody cares. If I tell the children, they don't listen. Grandchildren, they don't listen. And then the complaint starts at home. So we have found the solution that let them live separately somewhere. They don't live with us anymore. Why disturb our life? I got life to live. That's our argument, isn't it? Now should we bother about all of them? He has finished his life, let him go now. Business is over. So, and why? Because we have this concept in us that all of them should listen to me and they should give me attention and they should look after me, and because we insist on that, it creates this problem inside us, isn't it? And what is the proof for that? Krishna himself is the proof. Because the same children whom he brought up, whom Krishna brought up, his children and his own grandchildren, why did Krishna do all these things? In order to teach us this. That this is the way to live in this world. Then the same children whom Krishna brought them up, they won't listen to him. They won't listen to him. Because we get distressed when our children don't listen to us, isn't it? It's too independent, we say. They become too independent. Or we say there's a generation gap. Or we will say something else, some words like that will formulate together to explain that change that is happening. But here, Krishna, one devotee went up to Krishna and said continuously that all his children had shown no interest in him. They have all gone away. They didn't bother for the parents. So parents were in a great distress. They all gone to America, Europe or Australia, wherever it is, to make money. And in that process, finally they felt very isolated in life. Because in their life they gave everything to the children. When they went and said this to Krishna, one day Krishna could not stop. He said to them, but look at me, I have also gone through the same thing, Krishna says to the children, to the parents. What's the difference in my life, he said. He said, it's the same thing what happened to me. So why did all these things happen? To show it to us that all these false relationships family life or in the social life, if you continue with that, you have to pay a heavy price for it later. That's what. So therefore, Krishna's children also, what did they do? They dressed up, Samba dressed up like a pregnant woman, and others also joined together. Deliberately went and offended Durvasa Maharshi and Vishwamitra and many others, and acted like a pregnant woman, isn't it? So, when our children does any nonsense, then you have to take it that Krishna's children have also done the similar nonsense. They are also not much different, and then you feel a little relief from that. Because when you know that in Krishna's children this can happen, there is no possibility of us to complain about our own children, that they have acted in anything way. So, that is why, then you feel a relief. But instead, what have we done? We have used Bhagavad Gita to tell others that Bhagavad Gita is for success in business management. And Bhagavad Gita is for successful life, personality development and things like that. We started telling. Now, if you look at Krishna's life, I don't think it was a very successful life in that way. You see, whole life was a battle from beginning to end. From the day he appeared in prison, in Kamsa's prison, right up to the point he left this world. If you look into Krishna's life every day of his life, every phase of his life, what do you see? All you see is continuously battle going on everywhere. Trying to help Pandavas, going to Hastinapur, and this Mahabharata war with them, childhood with the gopis, all that activities. Even after growing up, establishing the kingdom in Mathura, and Jarasandha comes, big battle thereof. Throughout war, one after the other. Whole of Dwaraka, while living in Dwaraka, constantly war going on, in some way or the other. Jarasandha alone came 17 times to attack Dwaraka, isn't it? 17 times he had come to attack Dwaraka. So you can imagine, every time he had come, Krishna had to prepare for the war. Apart from that, all other demons during the childhood. The list of demons there in the Bhagavatam mentions, if you look into the 10th canto, the second chapter, what Shobramashi mentions there, a list of demons who had come constantly, one after the other. So he kept a list of all of them who had come when he mentions about that. He says, Shri Shubha Vaja, second chapter, 10th canto, first verse, Pralamban, Baga, Chamura, Pranavakam, Hashane, Mushtiga, Arishta, Divida, Pudana, Keshi, Enike. A list of all the demons. So, throughout childhood, it was fighting with the demons. When grown up, fighting with other kings. And finally, the culmination of everything, Mahabharata war, and then he left. So, this is the whole history. Now, if you say that a life is successful when there is some peace inside, isn't it? So looking at that and telling people that, look, if you study Bhagavad Gita, success in business management and successful life, personality development and all that, that you have a success in your company, you will make a big career, move, or management and things like that. If you look at all that, the greatest failure is Krishna himself. Because this Bhagavad Gita, and we talk in terms of business management, it's a failure. Because what is the reason? His own children, whom he brought them up, they have completely destroyed Dwaraka at the end. Is it not? After the war, everything was over. What did they do? They decided that after they have offended the great sages, they decided that we will go to Prabhasam and get drunk. They all got drunk and they started fighting each other. They all started fighting each other. Now if Krishna's children are doing this, who is the absolute truth himself, why is this happening then? Where is what's happened to the success in business management there? So it didn't last very long that the peace which Krishna was talking about, Shanti, was not there also, in Krishna's life also. So you can see, these are not stories. This is telling us certain things that then where is the success then? Where is the success in it? Success is there in Krishna, not in what has happened. That is not where you look for Krishna's success. Krishna's success, you have to look into Krishna. What is that? When all these things were happening, Krishna was smiling still. He was still smiling. And Bhagavatam, remember, she mentions that Kalaru Pyanyamo Dada. Kalaru Pyanyamo Dada. Krishna is saying, these things are not happening in me. Completely, time is doing it. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. Because Kalaru Pyanyamo Dada, Krishna is also time personified. Is it not? You know that. Vidyani Tasyakila Lokabhajam. That words in the 10th canto. Purusha Kalarupaihi. Antarpahi Purusha Kalarupaihi. So Kalarupi is Krishna. Time personified is Krishna. And he actually glorified that, congratulated this thing, what was happening. Because he was actually happy that these things have happened. When all these troubles were happening, Krishna was smiling. That is Krishna's success. Why is that? No identification with anything. I am the doer is not there in Krishna. When all these things are happening, I am the doer is not there. So from this you can understand how difficult it is to get rid of this doership from inside. It's not so easy. We may think that, oh, doership, we say, oh, I'm not doing it. You may say like that, but on a subtle level, I am the doer still very much so. So, a lot of things happen. Krishna wanted that everything should be destroyed before he leaves this world. Everything should be destroyed. Through the Mahabharata war, practically all the kings were killed. Majority of them were killed. Only what was left after Mahabharata war was mentions in the Bhagavatam, Chatu Panjava Sheshida. Only 3 or 4 people were left after that. So much destruction throughout Krishna's life. Everything is destroyed through the war. Isn't it? And finally destroyed his own family and then he left. And when all these things happen, Krishna is smiling. That is the beauty of Krishna's life in this. That is the lesson to all of us. That when everything is happening, asakti is not there, attachment is not there. So when nobody is, Krishna doesn't consider anyone as his family member in any way. No connection with anybody. At the same time, what is the difference of Krishna's point was that nobody is Krishna's. Krishna never considered anybody is my family. Although he had to act in this world as a householder, children, grandchildren, everything, but attachment was not there anywhere. There was no attachment anywhere. That is his success. And when they were fighting each other, Krishna also joined them. And they were shot a few arrows and killed a few there as well at the same time. And after that, Krishna smiled, enjoying killing all of them and then enjoying that fight between the family members. Normally, what would happen if your family members are all fighting, killing each other? You won't join them, at least you will try to change it. But Krishna didn't do it. He joined them and then he started smiling after getting them all killed in the battle. So, that smiling is the success. That smiling is Krishna's success. So, in that smile there is success, not the success in the world outside. That is no meaning. In Maya, what happens here, that success is not taken seriously. So, so after that, Krishna could have disappeared from this world, isn't it? If Krishna has disappeared from this world, what will you say? You will say, oh, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead and he can do all these things. Can we do like that? That will be our answer, isn't it? We cannot do like Krishna because we get old age, we get disease, we get that so many things happen here, and and we have got so many problems in this world. Therefore, only for that reason, while Krishna has left this world, he allowed an arrow to be shot on Krishna's feet, on lotus feet. Arrow was shot by Jaya. This is the hunter. And after that he gave up his body. Why? To show it to us. Then, you may think that the whole thing is a drama, isn't it? But what is that? He calls that person who shot the arrow and tells him, he blessed him. And what is it showing to us? It's only showing one thing to us, that in the platform of the body, there cannot be any perfection. In the world, there cannot be any perfection. Purna is not possible. Either in the world or in this body, perfection is not possible. Better not to try for it. This is what everybody does in this world, isn't it? They want to make everything perfect in this world. They want to make everything perfect in the body. These two things, Krishna is telling us, don't try, waste your time. Perfection is not possible in both these planes. So, but perfection is only possible in one's own state of consciousness. There you can be perfect. In your state of consciousness, perfection is possible. That's what Krishna's life is showing to us. All the things what has happened in this world in Krishna's time, when you look at it, when you read Krishna's life from Bhagavatam or from Mahabharata, if you read more in detail in Mahabharata, it was not a very peaceful time. Constantly war going on, endlessly, one after the other. You have to make a historical account if you take from Mahabharata and from Bhagavatam. You will see that the amount of battles Krishna and there was no security in Dwarka any time. Even at the last minute when Saluva came finally, Shishupala, Gandhavatra came, Jarasandha came so many times, Narakasura. Many big kings and powerful personalities Krishna had to fight with. Is it not? Each of those episodes, if you start reading, how much destruction has happened. So practically you can see the world today is more peaceful than during Krishna's time. In Krishna's time, there was so much destruction going on. And you will look into Krishna's life from the childhood, there was constant turmoil all the time. What was happening? But then, what is Krishna's success then? The success is this. When all these things were happening, there is no movement inside. Never any time disturbed by anything. That is the success. That's Krishna's success. That is the most important. One thing, what Bhagavatam is going to tell us, Shoprakashi is also pointing out to us, is that if you think that you can have peace in this world, forget it. It won't happen. It will always be like this, one way or the other. But you may have some peace sometime, but many times you may not have it. And you have to have a perfect situation in this world is not possible. That is the message of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. It is not possible to have a perfect situation in this world, in the platform of this world. Equally, in the platform of the body also, no perfection is possible. We should not waste time doing this, because it will not happen. It simply won't happen. That is the message there Krishna has to say to us. So that is the message what Krishna is driving through Bhagavad Gita to us. Whereas in every other religious, they also try to change the world, preach and change and make it perfect this world. It will never happen. Many of the great preachers of the world, they are themselves embarrassed by their preaching. After preaching, they find what goes on in this world. The result, they feel that they have managed to change the world to some extent, but then something else happens and the whole thing comes out in a totally unexpected way. So long as we are looking for perfection in this world, you will never have any peace inside. So, or equally, if you try to have some perfection in family life, also, there will be never any perfection any time. And if you want to be peaceful within and to be satisfied, it is not possible when you are looking for perfection in family or in the world or in your body or anywhere. So, if you don't do that, if you simply remain as a witness, as Krishna says, simply remain as a witness to everything, that is your perfection. If you are able to do that. When everything is going on in this world, and things happening to your body, mind, and so many other things, in all these situations, to remain as a witness, completely unaffected by everything what's going on, that is a perfection. That is the perfection. So, otherwise, boyhood, youthhood, old age, everything will come. They will come. And childhood, there will be children will play. And in the boyhood also, various kinds of activities will happen. And in the youth. And in the old age, many other things will happen. Thoughts will come. Because old age is associated with thoughts, isn't it? Vruddhastaval Chindasaktaha says in the prayers. So all these things will happen. But along with that, people who are very close to you, they will die and they will leave this world. They will leave you also. And difficulties will be there. But no Chindasaktaha. If you get absorbed in those thoughts, then you are in trouble. Chindasaktaha. So, these two words, Chitta and Chinta. If you look at that word, you will see the difference. Chitta means the fire, funeral fire. The fire, that's Chitta. And Chinta means thought. There's only very little difference between thoughts and the funeral fire. But you add one naam in between, Chitta becomes Chinta. So, in Shastra they have selected these words very carefully. Then if you get absorbed in the thoughts of all these things, very soon you will get to your funeral pyre. You will get there very easily. You will get there. So, Chinda Dahati Mudam Deham. That is what it says. Chitta Dahati Mudam Deham. What does Chitta does? Chitta Dahati Mudam Deham. Chitta, funeral pyre, it burns the body. Chitta Dahati Mudam Deham. And Chinda Dahati Jividam. Chinda Dahati Jividam. Chinda, what it thoughts, what it does, it burns the whole life. Isn't it? Chinta, thoughts, it burns the whole life. When distress happens, what happens to us? We become very thoughtful. We start thinking, why did this happen? I should have done this, then this may not have happened. If I had done that, this will not happen. So many things where we try to analyze the situation. That is Chinta. Thought waves coming constantly inside. Chinta Dahati Jividam. Chinta, what it does is it burns the whole life. And Chitta, what it does, it burns the body at the end. Burns the body at the end. So, here, whole life, actually if you think about this, there is no thing called, a concrete thing called the Chinta, thought wave. It's not there. Suppose you are sitting quietly at home and then you have tension, stress, blood pressure, all these things comes, isn't it? So, if you say that why these things have developed, because it has to come, and because of this Chinta, many of these things are developed due to the close association with the thought waves. That's coming in, isn't it? We are thinking about so many things, and that is why, as I is mentioning there, Vruddhastaval Chindasaktaha. That seriousness or attachment to thoughts in the old age, he says, should not happen. It's a common thing in every old person that as soon as you get to a certain stage in life, you start looking back and thinking what all happened in my life, in the boyhood, in the childhood, in the youth, all wonders what I have done in this world. You start evaluating and analyzing all of that. And you become very thoughtful. Too many thoughts come, and that's why old people don't get much sleep also at night. Because of this, isn't it? That's the only reason, there's no other reason. That they can't sleep at night because of the powerful thought waves that's coming through. Chinta sattaha. Buddhastaval, chinta sattaha. So chinta brings that problem. So therefore, this is the only reason that they have created Vanaprastha because of this Vanaprastha. Okay. That's all. Let it go like this. That one has to make up that decision at that point. Let it happen that children will go in their way, grandchildren will go in their way. But if you start identifying so many years you have done what you have to do for them, and now you have to forget that what has happened in the past. If you still start holding on to these children and grandchildren and their life and their welfare, then what will happen is that when retirement comes, that these thoughts won't disturb you otherwise, which can possibly disturb you. So, people will ask the question, if I want to go for Vanaprastha, where will I go? Where is the forest to go to? Because you don't need a forest to go for Vanaprastha. It is this consciousness that what Vanaprastha is about. Of course, in the olden times, they had very firmly fixed on these things, Varnashram system. But even while living within the house, if you can live within this understanding, what Krishna has spoken, that avoiding chinta, thought waves inside, and absorbed into self-realization or self-inquiry process, that is Vanaprastha. Otherwise, if you start going to ashram, suppose sometimes what happens, people go join some ashram, thinking that because they were staying in the house, they could not become detached. So they go to the ashram. And what happens? In the ashram, they will start another household life. So what has changed? Nothing has changed in this end. The only thing is they have shifted the household life from house to the ashram, another building. That's all. So then they say to me, oh, I'm living in an ashram now. I have nothing to do with the material world. I'm completely independent. I'm living in an ashram now. But living in an ashram at the same time very much attached to looking for the household happiness again, thinking that there is happiness in the household life and in the world, then there is no change in the situation. It is one and the same thing. So, Vanaprastha means this controlling side, when we become controlled or come under that surrender happens inside, at least in the old age, from the bodily level, the shraddha or attention should move towards the soul, towards the soul. I am not this body, and the old age is for the body. Old age is for the body. Body is going through boyhood, youthhood, old age, and disease, everything. Me, I am that eternal, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupa. Eternal, full of pure and fully conscious and always liberated. And none of these things will affect me. That realization. If that is realized, then boyhood, youthhood, old age and everything will not have any impact on me. Therefore, if that happens, then we will not get rotated through this cycle of material existence, samsara chakram. Otherwise, we will continue through this. That is that verse. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jagare shayanam, iti samsare bahudustare, kripaya pare pari murare. There is a verse there. That is you see. 21. Yeah. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jagare shayanam, iti samsare bahudustare, kripaya pare pari murare. So if separation hasn't happened, at the old age, with the body, with the family, with the world, and everything. We saw yesterday what damage they will do to us. That's what Krishna has told us, isn't it? If we have not separated ourselves from the world, from the body, from all our other relations or family or whatever that is, if we have not separated ourselves, Krishna is saying to us, Yam yam vavi smaran bhavam tejatyante kalevaram antam evaiti kauntaya sada bhava bhavita. There is no escape, Krishna is saying. So, this is not a philosophy. This is the reality of life. It is only a question of, if you start taking it as a philosophy, it doesn't mean anything. It's not something, a lot of philosophers are there in this world. Krishna has not come to talk to us of philosophy. He's telling us, Arjuna, it is like this. Either you take it or you leave it. It's up to you. That's Arjuna, Krishna's attitude. And the same thing Krishna is telling us also. That at the time of death, Yamyam Bhavi Smaran Bhavam Tejati Ande Kalaivaram Tamtam Nivedi Kaundaya Sadata Bhava Bhavida. Whatever thought waves that comes through at the time of death, as happened in the case of Bharanayaj, isn't it? Bharanaharshi wanted to deal the body peacefully, practiced the spiritual life all the way through. And even after going to Gandaki River in Nepal, where he was executing spiritual life, he was still trying to engage in, because he could not do it at home, that's why he came to the forest. He thought if I remain in the palace, I'll get involved in the administration or the kingdom's affairs of the kingdom. So he thought I may as well go to the forest. He perfectly lived like a Vanapastha. And he went to Gandaki River, lived there, and he was busy with all the things what was expected from a personality like him. All the 3 times in a day, he performed his Sandhyavandanam and lived a very austere life and completely absorbed in the self-realization process. In spite of all that, suddenly, just before that, a few weeks before that, this deer comes into his life and upset the whole thing. He said, no. Deer comes and he got attached to the deer, and at the time of death, although he was meant to remember Krishna, whom he has practiced spiritual life throughout, at that final point when he has to leave his body, the deer came into his thoughts strongly, and he started thinking, am I not that deer? This is how the shift happens. From the soul, from there inside, these thoughts comes. First of all, inside he was thinking all this time, I am King Bharata, King Bharata. He kept thinking that way. But when this attachment has built up and the prarabdha finished, so he has to leave the body. Prarabdha was over. He was a healthy person. Prarabdha was over, so he has to leave the body. At that time, one after the other, the body started failing. And at that point, these thoughts became somehow or the other, it became centered around this deer. And when that thoughts came very strongly, the next thing what happened was, am I not that deer? You see? Am I not that deer? He started thinking. And the result was that the next thing, material nature happily gave him the deer body. The next thing. So, in spite of the fact that rest of the life he practiced Krishna consciousness, it's just this one thought, if a deer thought of a deer can come and change the whole scenario. Imagine our life, what all we have put it inside here. Throughout life, from various identification with various thoughts, that's all strongly in us. And with all these thoughts inside, we are thinking, I'll bring a photograph and show in front of us at the time of death. Or somebody will stand around and chant at the time of death. Or bring some burfi or something from the temple and put it in my mouth. This is our foolishness to think that these things are going to make me suddenly go back to the spiritual world. It doesn't work like that. Completely misunderstanding about it. This is how everything gets twisted in time. when we do not understand what Krishna has spoken. Krishna is saying to us, even if you sit right in front of the deity at the time of death, and if arati is going on, and they are bringing you the ghee-lamp and the wicks and you are taking all of that, and everything you are watching, but inside if another thought comes, you have to change your body, you have to accept another body. There is no guarantee that you won't come back. The whole thing is centered inside, not outside. It may or may not help. It's only a chance you are taking with all these things. So, this verse, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Janani Shayanam, Iti Samsare, Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare, Pahimudare. Only if Krishna shows some mercy, it will happen. No other way. No other way. That is why Kulashekara Alvan and others, every day devotee has prayed to Krishna. If you don't do it, it's not going to happen. They were all very sure about it. Because they thought about it in such depth. That's why they could come to Krishna Nantodiya Padavangaja Panjaranam Advaivame Shadumana Sarajahamsa Pranam Prayana Samaye Kapavakta Vittayi Kandhavara Vidho Smaranam Kutaste. Kulashekara Alvar asked this question to Krishna. Then, Pranam Prayana Samaye, when I am leaving the body, it's a very difficult time that is in life, isn't it? The most crucial time in life while leaving the body. Why? Kaphavata Vittai Kandhavara Otana Vidho Kapam Vatam Vitam. All of them are choking here in the throat. You may have seen this. When the mucus builds up, doctors put one, what do they call it, a kind of and they scrape it out because mucus is building up in the throat, you can't breathe. They do that. And because you can't breathe, they connect you with the ventilator system. So nothing is working and you are leaving the body and you think, here we are saying, oh, I remember Krishna at that time. Will it happen? It can never happen. It's not possible. Pranam Prayana Samaye Kapavada Vidhe Kandhavara Otana Vidho. So Kulashekara Alvar is asking, Smaranam Kudaste, how will I remember you at that time? So it is a serious thing in life, serious problem, that Acharya and others are saying to us, if you don't prepare yourself right at this moment in life and you have some strength and energy in the body and mind, if you don't prepare yourself, you can forget, come back here again and continue. Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jadare Shayanam. It is Samsare, Bahudustare, Kripaya Pare, Pahimudare. Asking Krishna to help. There is no other way. So whatever it may be, these Shastram is only to wake us up from our sleep. We are in a sleepy state at the moment, intoxicated state, thinking that I feel go on somehow. I'll see at the time when the death comes. We'll sort it out at that time. Why worry about it now? That's our attitude, isn't it? We'll sort it out when it happens. And that time ambulance or somebody will come and take us out and somebody will give you some morphine so you won't feel any pain also in the body. As far as coming back is concerned, they will say this, who has seen that anybody has come back here? Now if you start asking these questions, there is no answer because Krishna is saying that is why Bhagavad Gita was spoken, because those who cannot accept this, some people, they have, because they have grown up in an environment like that from early days in life, initially if you have planted this atheistic nature inside, then it's very difficult for them to change later. They want a logic and answer for everything. Life is not logic. Life is not logic. If you are fortunate enough to accept Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita, then there is some hope. Otherwise it's not. Because Krishna is saying in every stage in the Bhagavad Gita that knowledge, Arjuna, he says to Arjuna, knowledge is not something is based on your mind and intelligence. Shastram is beyond. That is why in the Vedic literature there is pratyakshena aninityeva estu upayo na vidyate. These things what we do not know, you have no other choice except to take the shelter of the Vedic literature. Because it cannot be found out by your intellectual process or by inference or by direct perception. Neither of them can give you the answer to the question. What will happen after that? Yastubhayam na vidyate evam vadanti vedana tasman vedasya vedata. That is why Vedam is talking to us something about something that we do not know and that we cannot be found out in our lifetime. We can keep on experimenting and researching, but at the end you won't get an answer. Therefore the Rishis have told us that now we are born and after some time there is death. After that what will happen? You know what will happen? Because when we are dying with a lot of vasanas inside. We are dying with vasanas inside. And there are many vasanas which are not fulfilled in this life. We are not fulfilled in this life. So what will happen? We will carry that vasanas with us. And because of the vasanas inside, we will come back here to fulfill those desires what we have created within ourselves. We have to come back here for that. Say for example, sometimes people say that, I should have studied Sanskrit, they say, in life. But what can you do? If you die with that desire inside, you will have to come back here to study Sanskrit next life. That's how it is. So, that is all plans only. It all doesn't mean anything. So, if you give up all the desires and leave this body, then, Acharya is saying, there is no Punarapi Janam. Punarapi Janam won't happen. But if you have any desire, whether it's good or bad, anything, that is why Krishna is also saying, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogadan. Arjani Atmana Krishna Prasadanadi Gachali, he says, isn't it? So, as long as there is desire inside, you have to come back. So, that means Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Because you know, if you have to take birth again, that by observing the world, how life is going to be here. The world is getting very, very complex. Very, very complex. When you see the children now, you get frightened. Their life, isn't it? So, morning they start with the computer and evening they go to bed with the computer. Now comes to an end, isn't it? When you see all that they have to learn at the school and in the college and all that, so you feel that it's better not to take birth again. After seeing that itself, isn't it? So much struggle in life. And even simple happiness in life, they can't have it today. Little happiness, what many of us had even in the childhood, they don't get it anymore. They don't get it anymore. Because you can see in the last few 20, 30 years, if you look back, you can see how much the changes have happened here. They have no time for anything. And therefore, when we say Punarapi Jananam, you have to get frightened about that. So, normally because we live in this modern technology world, when they are born, normally what we do is we hand them over a computer. So they keep him occupied with something. We think that he has to be occupied in that way, isn't it? So it is like that once we take birth in that way, he says here, Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam. Before that happens, you go through a whole process here, isn't it? Giving the example of that giant wheel, we talk about that all the time, isn't it? If you get onto that giant wheel, until it stops, you can't come out of it. If you tell somebody that you stop it, they won't stop it. They'll say you bought the ticket, you sit there until it's over. So similarly, you can see that sometimes you sit in that giant wheel, how it reacts to us, isn't it? That after one spin, you want to come out of it. So all the breakfast everything comes out by the time it happens. So this is the thing, and that you want to come out, but you can't come out. You can't come out from that. So, because you bought the ticket for that. Similarly, only when the time runs out for the ticket, they let you out, isn't it? So, similarly, this material existence is also like a wheel. That's why it's called samsara chakra, isn't it? Wheel of material existence. And we have come and sat on it on our own. We have come and sat on it. And at the same time, it is interesting to see others also sitting on the wheel and going through the different things. But we will have to stop at that, just like if you go into Alton Towers or anywhere. The intelligent thing to do is to stand and watch others going on that. If you do that, it's okay. But if you got into it and started going through, then you are inviting trouble. Similarly, this wheel of material existence also, you can watch everything what is going on here. But if you get onto that wheel and keep on doing the same thing what everybody else is doing, then you will be in trouble. That's why. So, you should buy a ticket and you should get onto that. So that wheel, as you know, when it is revolving, suddenly it gives you a jerk and change the direction, isn't it? You must have seen that. That some of these, I'm sure everybody knows about it these days. Everybody has to be told what they call cobra and this and that, so names and everyone. And it goes like this and like that, like this and like that. Some upside down and then it comes up again. So they get a big excitement at that time, is it not? And that is what happens in our life also, isn't it? When everything is going smoothly, like suddenly the whole thing gets turns upside down. So there is not much of a big difference there. Everything will be going smoothly. Family life is okay, job is okay, children are okay, and suddenly something happens. The whole thing gets upside down, change. Job is gone, health is gone, wife is gone, children are gone their own way, and you start thinking what has happened now. So where was that peace you had a few days ago? What was there? So the comparison is like that. There is this wheel of material existence and that wheel what they have developed in these places. It's the same thing what happens. Very much so. The material nature won't allow you to have some peaceful existence because, as Krishna mentions, if there is no peaceful existence, where is the question of spiritual life? Ashandasya utasukha. There is no shanti inside. Then what happiness has he got? When the whole thing is getting turned upside down like this all the time, how can you any time take Krishna consciousness seriously? It's not possible. That is why it is spoken like that. So, and similarly, while everything is going smoothly, you will see your own life, if you look back, suddenly your close friend had a heart attack and he died, left this world. Then what comes through your mind? Is it happening to me? Next day, go to the GP. Let me have a checkup. So everything is okay. GP checks everything and he says, blood pressure is a little bit. Little bit. It's on the high side. That's enough. You come home and he says, maybe you have a second opinion. Why not have a second opinion? Go somewhere else and have a check again. Or you go to the Mill-Smith or somewhere and buy that meter to measure the blood pressure or the heartbeats or something like that. This is how we live in this world, isn't it? Right? We are thinking that by doing all these adjustments, somehow, and Krishna is saying, come out of this illusion that you will not be able to, don't worry about this body, you will never be able to make it perfect. And therefore what will happen is that, when you are doing all these things, your wife is asking, why you are buying all these things now? No, I'm just being careful about it. It doesn't happen to me, but it can happen. So I may as well be prepared for that. So I get all these meters, what they are selling in the pharmacy, in the booths and other places. You walk in there, there's 10 meters for 10 different things. For kidney 1 meter, for liver another meter, for blood another meter, for pressure another meter. Buy all these 10, 12 meters and bring it home and keep it there every morning testing it. All of the one after the other to check that it's all working properly. Because you are still thinking it will work properly for you. That's the idea behind it, isn't it? So that is called avidya. It is avidya. It's nothing but avidya that is inside a person. So instead of becoming understanding what Krishna is saying to us in the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, that this struggle inside of fear of death, that is going to come to an end. And the body also showing its symptoms, one way or the other. When is it going to start? That's what he mentioned here. That Punaravi Janani Jagare Shayanam, he says. That think about this, Acharya is saying, when you were lying within the mother's womb, who was looking after you? Who looked after you when you were in the mother's womb? Who was feeding you? And who made sure that as soon as you came out from there, that you were taken care of? Who was behind that? So, Punaravi Janani Jagare Shayanam, that word includes all those things. That when you are in the womb of Janani, Jagaram, or in the womb of the mother, you can, all the miseries that is going through is spoken in the Bhagavatam. Apart from that, who gave us the protection there? Instead of putting that faith in Him and in His words, our mind and intelligence is telling us to be independent and to look for our own solutions. That's what we do, every one of us, isn't it? Instead of looking back and see why inside the womb of the mother, who protected us? Who, when we came out from the womb, who fed us first? Who made those arrangements? How was that there was a mother to feed us milk without being, we didn't know anything about it when we came out, did we? Nobody knew that there was somebody else. Did we make arrangements in the womb? Oh, when I come out, mother is ready there with the milk bottle. Nobody knew about it, isn't it? This is the helpless way we come to this world. So helplessly we come here. And with same helplessness we leave this world also. And in between this time, all this big show going on here. That I am this, I am that, I have done this, I have done that, and I will organize this, I will organize that. So much illusion. That is what Acharya is saying here. Punaravi Jananam, Punaravi Maranam, Punaravi Janani Jagare Shayanam. It is samsare, bahudustare, kabaya pare, parimudare. So, intelligent thing is that even though all these things are happening, if you have taken Krishna shelter, kabaya pare, parimudare, if you accept that Krishna has made you, put you in the womb, Krishna has made you in the womb, when you came out of the womb also Krishna has looked after. Why Krishna won't look after when you are leaving the body? And why not take Krishna shelter? That is the question Ajay Swami is asking here. That when Krishna is maintained you and looked after you in the womb, and when you came out from the womb, and all through the life also, when you look back from your own experience, you can see, if you are a devotee, you must have observed that different instances how Krishna has protected us in this life also. And if Krishna can do all that, cannot Krishna look after us at the time of death also? Is that not possible for Krishna to look after us? So therefore, the message is driving at is that we have to leave behind all our so-called efforts to protect this body and rather surrender to Krishna. From there, the only hope. There is no other hope. That is the point he is making here. And so if you tell the person that while you are on that giant wheel, please stop it, I want to come out from there. You tell him, what will he say? He will say to you that he will not going to agree for it, isn't it? But the difference with this wheel of samsara material existence is, if you say to the person who is running this wheel, which is Krishna here, if you say to him to get you out of this wheel, he will get you out. That is the difference. In the other place, you have to buy the ticket and you sat there. If you tell him to stop it, unless some serious accident happens, he won't stop it. That means your life is finished then. Isn't it? Then you don't have to cry anymore. Everything solves all your problems once for all. Then they will stop that wheel. But otherwise they won't stop it. But this particular one, Krishna is saying, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtali. Krishna is talking about that wheel here. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yandrajudhani Mayaya, he says. That in this Yandram, Ishvara Sarva Bhutani Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtali. Krishna who is situated with everyone's heart as Antaryami. He is the one who is keeping us in this wheel of material existence, or this wheel that is running around. So, Brahmayan means the wheel is rotating all the time. Sarva Bhutani, and all living entities are on that wheel. Yantra Rudhani Maya. Through the power of Maya, he keeps this wheel rotating. Maya is the force behind it. So, the only thing is here that Krishna is saying to us that if surrender happens, then it is possible to come out of that wheel. And that is why in the very next words he told us, isn't it? Tameva sharanam gacha sarva bhavena bharata yal prasada param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. Otherwise, why these two important verses in the Bhagavad Gita in the last chapter? After talking about so many things, Krishna is saying this. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtali brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrayudhani mayaya. And then straight after that he says tameva sharanam gacha sarva bhavena bharata yal prasada param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. Two verses. Krishna is saying to us, surrender there itself to that Antaryami who is inside, and then you can come out of that wheel, or the wheel, he says here. So, Sharanagati or surrender is to Krishna who is within the heart, who is within the heart. Here we have to be careful because when we are getting rotated in this world through different bodies, and behind that there is a witness, isn't it? There is a witness. And that witness is Krishna. In front of that witness is our false ego surrendering. Who is surrendering? The false ego. False ego is surrendering in front of that witness and to that witness who is behind in this wheel of material existence. We are getting rotated from one body to another, one planet to another, one species to another. We are getting rotated. This is the rotation that's happening to us. In the only thing is, in this wheel, we get a little bit more time to sit in this wheel, in this seat. We sit there for some time. After a while, we are taken out and then put onto another body, then go through the whole changes again. So these changes that's happening all this time, Krishna is with us, isn't it? As the witness of everything, what is happening with us, as the happening with us. So, here, that witness, in front of that witness who is witnessing all these changes, what is happening in us, it is to that witness you have to surrender. Not anywhere else. Otherwise, Krishna did not have spoken like that. When Krishna is saying to us in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, Tameva sharanam gacha, surrender unto him, because who sarva bhavena bharata yal prasadal param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. That tameva, that is important there. Because he is asking us, you surrender to that witness who is inside. Because he is the one who is witnessing this cycle of birth and death. Not the deity in the temple. Not anywhere else. It is that Krishna who is within the heart. He is the witness of everything, what we are doing, what our future plans are, what our thoughts are. Everything, if one person knows, it's him. It's him who knows about it. That's why it is spoken like that. So, surrender is expected there. That is what Krishna is saying like that. So, if you surrender there, the wheel has stopped. The wheel stops. The wheel stops. Now, what is that wheel we are talking about? Wheel is nothing nothing but the mind. Nothing but the mind, isn't it? Because if the mind has become stable, in other words, it's not functioning anymore, that rotation will stop. The rotation will stop. So, and the wheel is the mind, and the electricity of that wheel is the desire. You see? Desires inside. So, electricity is the desire, and keeping that desires is this mind which keeps on rotating. And when that desire stops, Krishna is saying, the wheel won't rotate anymore. If you look in the second chapter, Prajahadi yada kaman sarvan parthamano gadan. Look at that verse. It is 55. Yes. Shri Bhagavan Vacham Prajahadi yada kaman sarvan parthamano gadan Almani eva almana tumshastida prajnastadochyate. The Blessed Lord said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of sense desire, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Literally, that's what it means. Literal translation is correct, that's the way it is. But what it means is this. What it means is that this rotation will stop. That's what it means. But Krishna has put it in a very, because he was talking, Arjuna asked a question that, about the symptoms of a person who is in the Sthira Prajna state, man of steady intelligence, isn't it? So it is an answer to that. Krishna is saying this, that Prajahari yada kaman sarvan partha manogadan. As soon as calm or desire stops inside, then the mind won't function anymore. Mind comes to a dead stop. Is it not? Mind will come to a stop. So one path manogadan. Then Almani. At that state, what is happening inside him? Almani eva atmana tushta. All he knows that he is the soul and he is experiencing the blissful nature of the soul. Atmana tushta. Almani eva atmana tushta. And because of that, Krishna mentions here that his mind finds satisfaction in the self alone. Only in that state you can come out of it, otherwise not. So now you know what we are saying, isn't it? Connect this verse with what we discussed yesterday. That means if there is a slightest thought inside, or any desire or sankalpam inside at the time of death, or if the thoughts go centered around somebody else in this world, friends or family or anybody, anyone else in this world, even your pet dog or cat or doesn't matter, or even if you are attached to some plant what you are growing in your garden, anywhere else the thoughts goes in that direction, you have to come back. There is no option. There is no alternative. That's what Krishna. That's why those two verses, what we discussed yesterday, Andakalecha Mameva Smaran Titva Kalevaram Yaprayadisa Malbhavam Yadi Nastyatra Samshaya. Krishna doesn't say normally like that so strongly. But here in those two verses you will see Krishna speaking very direct. He says, Andakalecha Mameva Smarantritva Kalevaram Yaprayadi Samalbhavam Yadi Nastyatra Samshaya, he says. Then he says, Yamyam Bhavi Smaran Bhavam Tijatyande Kalevaram Tamtam Elevi Kaunteya Sada Prabhava Bhavidaha. That is why that chapter 8 is a very important chapter, because it is about death. It is about death. If we are serious about that, then that is what we should look at. Why Krishna is saying like this, isn't it? So here, you can see here again the problem that Prajahari Abhigahadi Yadakaman Sarvan Partha Manogadan. Krishna is saying like that, isn't it? So, and here, Acharya is also saying to us that it won't happen easily. Which one? Freedom from desires. It won't happen. Punarabijanam, Punarabijanam, Punarabijanani, Janani Shayanam. It is samsare, Bhagustare, Kavayapari, Vahimurari. So, Murari is saying here to us, that Murari, Krishna is saying to us, why did this wheel start in the beginning, first of all? Why did this distress come first and all this wheel has started rolling like this? The reason for that is we have recognized certain things which are not real. Some things which are not real in our own mind, our thoughts, we have recognized them as real. Every relationship, if you look in this world, it is like that. That when you have, people will give this example, that how can I can't find time for spiritual life, they will say. I don't have time for spiritual life. I got my wife, I got my children, and haven't I got the responsibility for that? That's one of the questions you hear all the time. And the problem is, the moment you have recognized that inside, then you will start using Bhagavad Gita to support your logic, your argument. They will say to you, what does Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita? These people, I'm talking about most of the people in this world, who uses family life as an excuse for not taking spiritual life seriously. Family life as an excuse. They will say that Krishna says that you have to do your duty in this world. So, you can look at that time. When Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita, if you have properly understood and studied Bhagavad Gita in the way our great acharyas and great devotees have spoken about, nowhere you will find this word duty in Bhagavad Gita. You won't find it anywhere, duty. And if you are a little bit sensitive, a little bit knowledgeable about the Shastra, you will see that this argument is a complete bogus argument. That I have got my duty at home, I have got my duty with my family, wife or children or anything. So, he may have got the Bhagavad Gita at his home, because nowadays everybody has got Bhagavad Gita. There's nobody who hasn't got a Bhagavad Gita. Only thing is it's staying in the shelf. It's never opened. It's never opened. Or somebody has put a lot of pressure on you to buy a Bhagavad Gita and you have bought it. And it's staying in the shelf. It's never opened any time. So, and if you take Bhagavad Gita and look at it, Krishna is saying there, important thing is, na kartrutvam na karmani. Do you know that verse? Those who are talking to you about the duty, the answer is that verse. Na kartrutvam na karmani. Lokasya sajati prabhu. If you look at that verse, you will see, find yourself. And look at that, what Krishna is saying here. Na karma phala samyoga svabhavastu pravartate. You can't have a better argument than that. Krishna is saying, he won't read all these things and he will come and say to you that, oh, I have to do my duty, my family life is such an important thing. Everybody brings this issue all the time. Na kartratvam na karmani. Lokasya sajati prabhu. Na karma phala samyogam svabhavastu pravartate. Isn't it? Which verse is that? The fourth, is it? 514. Yeah. 514. Let's look at that. What Krishna is saying. We have talked about this verse before also, but because it's not helping us for our duty, we must ignore it. It's the thought that it's not telling us to do our duty. So the verse is wrong. But Krishna is saying here, na kartrutvam na karmani lokasya sajati prabhu. Na karma phalasam yogam swabhavastu pravartate. That is enough, the answer for that question. If somebody comes up and says to you about family and the duty and all that, this is the answer to that. Krishna is saying here that the embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act. When you say the embodied spirit, master of the body, Krishna is talking about. He says he is not given us any duty or any activity to do. Nor does he induce people to act. He is not telling you be active all the time. So people tell you sometimes, isn't it? Oh, you are very lazy, you are not active, they say. All the time you are sitting in one place reading this Bhagavad Gita. What will you get from that? What can you answer to that person? All you can do is to tell him that Ajnanam or Avidya in a person is like that. He says here, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. He is saying also, na karma phalasam yogam. You can keep on doing your karma, but the result is also not guaranteed. That is also not connected with your karma. Karma and phalam samyogam will not happen, he says. What is happening then? Swabhavastu pravartate. According to your swabhavam or your nature, you are working in this world. That's all it is. Now, with this bird's background, if somebody says to you about the duty, all you can do is to tell him, Prabhu, this is what Krishna is saying. Krishna has never spoken about a thing called duty anywhere else. It is due to your attachment and to all your desires inside that you have built up this philosophy of duty from Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita never talks about duty anywhere. Never spoken. Well, it's only one duty Krishna is saying, realize the truth and get out from this body once for all. That's the only thing what he has to say. So you can see here to Arjuna Krishna is saying, you don't have any duty to perform here. He says to Arjuna, the reason what is it? Because in order to perform duty, then you will have a doership connected with the duty, isn't it? So, and Krishna is saying here, na kartatvam. The ownership is also not there. Ownership is also there. Only if you have ownership, then you can have duty. Is it not? First of all, you have to have ownership. Then you can talk about duty. But Krishna is saying you don't have some ownership of doing something here. Bhagavad Gita verses, you have to take every verse like this and go through it. What is Krishna means by saying this? Na kartatvam. You have no kartatvam. You have no ownership of anything. Only if you have ownership, you can say, I have got a duty to do. Many people find that as a big excuse not to take spiritual life or to Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. They are saying that right now my duty is to bring up my children and family life and all that. Maybe at the old age, if time permits, if there is no Olympics or if there is nothing else to do, then I may take Bhagavad Gita and keep looking at it at that time. But then it's too late. There is no point looking at Bhagavad Gita at that time. If you don't look at it earlier than that. So the point is this, that we twist Krishna's words wherever it suits us. Krishna says, na kartrutvam, na karmani, logasya sujati prabhu. There is no karma, there is no kartrutvam either. These are the things we want to come out from here. Kartrutvam and karma has bound us to this and brought us into this view. And Krishna is saying, na kartrutvam, na karmani, logasya sujati prabhu. Then, and swabhavastu pravartate. Krishna is saying, swabhava, in a person's vasanas inside, his desires inside, that is pushing him to work. That is pushing him to do all kinds of work in this world. There is nothing else. So he also mentions that there is no kartrutvam, there is no karma. And he also mentioned that the karma and the result of the karma, samyogam. There is no link between the two. It's an amazing thing what Krishna is saying there. And if you have to reflect a little bit and reflecting in your own life, if you look back, you can see this, how it's all true, isn't it? You have done some karma in this world expecting a certain result. You didn't get it. You did some other karma where you are not expecting any result and some results have come from nowhere. So what does that mean? Do you think all these big businessmen who are doing big business in this world, that they all know the result what they are going to get? They play the games along the way. Sometimes the result comes, sometimes the whole thing collapses. Is it not? So you can understand that karma phalasam yogam. Karma and its result has no link between the two. When what's happening? Swabhavastu pravartate. His swabhavam is working in this world. That's the most important point there. So, then why this pravarti work is going on in this world? Because of ignorance. Because of ignorance. So, because of ignorance only, Krishna is saying some activity is pious, some activity is sinful. That's how we categorize them. So, therefore he mentioned in the very next verse that how the ignorance in us, how deep that is. Having said, because in this verse, Krishna has taken out a lot of our misunderstanding about life, isn't it? All of us are thinking, working in this world, and the result of that, coming from that, our beauty, and all kinds of other rubbish what we have created. He has completely rejected that in that verse. Nadate, nakarmuttam karmani, logasya sajati prabhu. Good words for reflection, for spiritual reflection. Na karma phalasam yogam, swabhavastu pravartate. If you have accepted all this, what Krishna is saying, then we are Krishna conscious. Not otherwise. Just because I lived in an ashram, or 5 times I did the arati to Krishna, and all my time mind is working in this another direction, without accepting what Krishna has spoken here, then what kind of Krishna consciousness is that? And after saying this, in the very next verse, if you look, what does Krishna say? Nadate kasyajil papam nachaiva subhadam vihu ajnanena budam jnanam tena muhyanti jandavaha. Krishna is saying, Nadate kasyajil, this papam punyam, pious, sinful, all these things is mental concoction. Like yesterday we were talking about this sincerity, isn't it? This is another concoction. This papa punyam and all that, as far as Krishna is concerned, Nadate kasijil papam ajaiva samudam vibu ajnanenavadam jnanam tena muhyanti jandava. That's why Prabhupada is also saying this and all that completely from the mind. We approach spiritual life, oh, it's a pious activity. I'll get some results from that by engaging in spiritual life, isn't it? So that is what Krishna wants to clear up all this misunderstanding first, before talking about the knowledge and bhakti later. So that's why in this chapter, 5th chapter itself, which is all relationship with karma, Krishna is saying to us that Nadate kasajal papam na chaiva sukhadam vibhu. Look at the translation. It says here that nor does the Supreme Spirit assume anyone's sinful or pious activity. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. When there is no knowledge, when there is no spiritual knowledge, what will happen? We will think that, oh, I have done some pious activity, or I have done some sinful activity. If I have done some pious activity, I am hoping that it will shelter me at some time, give me some protection. So people engage in pious activity in this world, isn't it? That's why sometimes you see big business people, they make a lot of money through various shoddy deals, and then go and dump the whole money in a temple, thinking that will save them from all the 10% or 20% for Krishna. The rest for me, 8% for me, 20% for Krishna. And they will give some nice name, Krishna's name, for their pious activity, and then they have all other kinds of things that are connected with that. So Krishna is saying here, Nadate kasijil papam. Who is doing this papam and punyam? That is the question he is asking there. Nachaiva sukhadam vibhu. Krishna says, the soul has nothing to do with any of these things. Papam punyam is all jiva's activity. Ahanta, false ego inside is doing that. He is making this decision, this is pious, this is sinful. The soul inside, Atma, has nothing to do with pious and continue to be the simple. So till we move away from the platform of the Jiva level, Jiva consciousness, to the consciousness of the soul, self-realization, we will still be talking in terms of Pāpam and Punya, pious and sinful activity. Otherwise, Bhagavad Gita won't make any sense. As long as we have false ego inside, which is there, and this identification with the false ego, that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. This is all Ahangaram's different dresses. False ego inside is got different dress. It comes out in the form of anger, it comes out in the form of lust, in the form of greed and various other emotions. He also comes out in various attachments and aversions, yagam and dvesham. He also comes out in the form of kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam. This is all centered around that jiva inside. Till that false ego completely goes away from inside, we will go through this cycle continuously. Krishna is saying here, till develop transcendental knowledge, realize the self. When you realize that there is no Pāpam, there is no Punya. Because a person who has realized for him, he cannot do anything after that. Because he is situated in that state of transcendental state. So he is saying, Nadate kasvijil Pāpam, na chaiva suhridam vibhu. He cannot do any pious activity. Because he doesn't see it anymore like that. Because he knows who is the doer of this pious activity, sinful activity. So that's why Jnanam. The problem is not the pious activity or sinful activity. The problem is Ajnanam. Ajnana means avidya or ignorance in a person. Ignorance is the problem, Krishna is saying there. Why? Ajnanam has covered the Jnanam. Ajnanam is for the jiva. Jnanam is for the Atma. Jnanam is for the Atma. Ajnanam is associated with the jiva. Hangaram inside. And Jnanam is associated with the Atma inside. So long as we live like a jiva and continue to exist as a jiva, this problem will never go away. Ajnanam Jnanam. Ajnanam is covered by this shelter, this cover, or Jnanam has covered this Jnanam inside. Krishna says, because of that, all living entities are bewildered, he says. He says they are bewildered, isn't it? Muhyandi means moha. Moha means illusion. Illusion, when it becomes powerful, it's called Muhyandi, then Muhyandi Chandava. All living entities are bewildered by that. Krishna says like that. So, then he also, immediately after that, he says there that you will see another place. He says, Jnanena tu tadajnanam. Because it is ajnanam, yasham nashidam atmana, tesham adityaval jnanam prakashayati tampayam. There is a verse there. Jnanena tu tadajnanam. I think that is in the... Next one, yeah. Jnanena tu 16. Jnanena tu tadajnanam. Yesham nashidam almana. There is no other way. That ajnanam must go from inside to the effect of jnanam. There is no other way. Yesham nashidam almana. Tesham, then what will happen? Adityaval jnanam prakashayati talpara. Just like when the sun comes out of the cloud and it starts shining. Similarly, the knowledge of the soul, when it is realized, it will come out and it will shine in the world. Okay. So, self-realization, what Krishna is talking about is like that. Jnanenadu dharajnanam yasham nashada alpanam. Tesham adityaval jnanam prakashayati kalparam. When, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nations is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything. As the sun lights up everything in the daytime. Tesham adityaval jnanam prakashayati kalparam. So there is then what is that jnanam? That is a question then, isn't it? What is that jnanam? Jnanam is this, that after hearing Bhagavad Gita and thoroughly scrutinizing within oneself and coming to the conclusions that I am not the doer, I am not the enjoyer. I am not the doer, I am not the enjoyer. And if you take out that weight from your shoulder and put it down, immediately you are released from that. And that is the biggest problem, to get rid of that weight from the shoulder. So at that point, at least we should stop saying duty, duty, duty. This duty business must stop at that point. So, duty, you may have to do things, but that those things may have to, but imagine this situation. Suppose you are saying about duty all the time, or doing duty. Think about this. One person, he whole his lifetime, he was worried about the daughter's marriage, he ran around. He organized everything, the marriage everything, and just before the marriage happened, 2 days before that, he got a heart attack and he died. He got a heart attack and died. Now who will do the duty? Where's the duty there? So when Yamadharmaraja sent us here, did he any time tell us, when you have finished all your duties, you let me know. Then I will call you back. He never told us that, did he? I don't see it. He hasn't told me anything. I don't know about you. Nobody, everybody knows these things. When we talk about this duty, what does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. Somehow my illusion is created this feeling inside. I have created myself some understanding and I am using Bhagavad Gita for supporting my argument. That's what it is. But you can see this all the time happening in life. People run around and try to do so many things in this world, thinking that this is my duty, I have to make sure that it happens and everything. And you cannot do your duty even. Even if you take it as a duty, you can't even do that. Because whatever is happening here is, whatever Krishna is making us to do, we are doing that. That's all it is. Nothing more than that. And Krishna is making us to do so many different things, just like an instrument or a machine. You are being operated by Krishna. If Krishna moves us, we move, and otherwise you can't do any duty or anything here. It's all complete illusion that is inside. So that is why you will see in the Bhagavatam, what this Narada Maharshi told Yudhishthira. Ishasya hi vashe loko yosha dhanumayi yatha, he says. Completely under Krishna's control, this whole world, Ishasya hi vashe loko, in Krishna's control, all this world is going on like this. Yosha dhanumayi yatha, just like a puppet is moved by the person who is behind pulling the strings. All of us in this world are pulled by that supreme power behind me, supreme power behind me. So all you can do here, that accordingly as Krishna pulls the string, you dance. That's all you can do. That's your freedom. That according to Krishna's pulling the string, you can dance in this world. That so when Krishna makes us play, we have to play the game, what we are sent here. When he stops, it will stop. So, and when Krishna winds it up, it will start. And when that, just like in the timepiece, you switch on, isn't it? You screw it, you turn the alarm and keep it. And when that whole thing comes out, when the spring comes out, the alarm stops, isn't it? Afterwards, that's it. That's our life in this world. Krishna is sent here, and all the vasanas back inside, and he told us that he should now start the game to play. And when that vasanas runs out, then this body is finished. This life is finished with that. That's all what is happening here. So, and all you have to play that game, and when he stops, he stops. If it is like that, where is the duty? What duty is here we are talking about? So, and who has got any ownership? What does Krishna say? Kartavyam, isn't it? Na kartrutvam. What kartrutvam here? Where is the kartrutvam? Na kartrutvam, and who has got karma? Not the karmani. Where is the karma for anybody? So, due to ignorance, ajnana, all these connections and relationships in this world. Not only that, if you look at it carefully, you can also see this, that this husband, wife and all that, this has only come only recently into the life, isn't it? It wasn't there when we came in. Did we know that he's going to be my wife or he's going to be my husband or she's going to be my wife? All these things were known at the time of birth. Nothing was known. Only at some point in life all these things happened, isn't it? So, and after a while, it's not going to be there either. That conscience is also broken. That is why he mentions there, Kade, Kanda, Kaste, Putraha, Samsaroyam, Ativa, Vichitraha. There is a verse there, you will see that. They say here, verse 8, Kade, Kanda, Kaste, Putra, Samsaroyam, Ativa, Vichitra, Kastyatvam, Buddha Ayada, Tatvam Chingaya, Sadiham Grada. That is our Kave Kanda, Kaste Putra, Samsarayam, Ativa Vichitraha, Kastyatvam, Buddha Ayada, Tatvam Chingaya, Sadiham Grada. What is the Tatvam? Tatvam is this, that this I am devoting all my shraddha, attention, everything in this so-called family, and husband or wife, whatever that is, children, whatever it is. But Kade Kanda Kaste Putra, were they your husband or wife in the beginning when you started this life in this world? No, they were not. They came sometime in life, isn't it? Similarly, these children also, they came sometime in life as a part of your family. And Ajari is saying here, Kade Kanda Kaste Putra, Samsarayam Ativa Vichitraha. This samsara material existence is a particularly fascinating place, he says. It's a very fascinating thing, this material life, isn't it? As soon as we become a family people, we become very serious about it. Then there is no time for anything else. Everything finished with that, isn't it? Samsara and Madhiva Vichitra, it's very amazing thing, this family. Because it keeps you busy for the rest of the life. And Kastyatvam Bhava Ayana. Where did all this come from? Think about that, my dear brother, he's saying there. Tatvam Chindaya Tadiyam Brada. Where did you all come from? Please think about it, my dear brother. He says, he addressing his brother, he says. Tatvam, and I am saying, Tatvam Chindaya Tadiyam Brada, my dear brother, please think about it. He says, so he says here, for some time ago, where was the wife we're talking about? You know where, before marriage, what happened in life, isn't it? So you never knew about it. Similarly about the husband also. You never knew that somebody is going to be your husband at one time or going to be your wife either. And a child is born, do you know that that child who is going to be her husband or who is going to be his wife? You don't know, really. When the child is born. For a long time you have no idea whether the child is going to, who is going to be, if it's a boy who is going to be his wife, or if it's a girl who's going to be her husband. These things are also not known. Nobody knows about it. Only thing scientists have not developed any machine to finding and all that. They have not found out that yet. Listen, they're talking about genes and DNAs and RNAs and all kinds of ways they are saying. And they think they have answer for everything. But can they give us an answer? Who's going to be the husband or wife of a child who is born now? That they don't have an answer for that. Even the astrologers cannot say that. Because after everything has happened, they will say, oh yeah, I can see that in your chart, they will say. After everything has happened. So, just like when the tsunami happened, you know, when tsunami happened, some people, some astrologers say, so we have predicted that tsunami before. So after it has happened, they are saying this. So nobody can say anything about that because no relationship in this world is permanent. You can't see it as a permanent relationship. You have to simply see it as a temporary connection, that's all. If you don't see it like a temporary affair, there will be always problem. That's why Kaste Putraha, who is the son. And who is the son? So, Vidyananda Swamiji, who wrote Panchadashi, if you look into Panchadashi, you will find this. He says here, there is not a higher magic than this world, he says. This is the greatest magic. This world, what is going on here. So, because he says here, before a living entity takes birth, he mentions that from the food that has eaten, in the form of Shuklam and Shonikam, that means the semen and the blood form, and he enters into the womb of the mother. And suddenly then, inside that womb, he gets his head, 2 hands and 2 legs. One piece of flesh, originally, it was a piece of flesh inside, isn't it? First in painting. Vidyananda Swami discussed that like Kapila Maharshi discusses this. Vidyananda Swami is saying that some blood and semen join together and then gone inside the mother's womb. And in a few weeks' time, it turned out to be a piece of flesh. At that time, there is no head, there is no legs, hands, nothing. No senses, nothing. Just one piece of flesh. And then slowly from that shoots out a head. Then shoots out 2 hands. And then shoots out 2 legs from that piece of flesh. And then he says, then when he comes out, 10 months ago he didn't have any of those things. Now, then he comes out from inside. This is what we are actually, is it not? When we come out, then in a few years' time, we keep a moustache like this. Or like some people like this, and like that. All kinds of people do all sorts of things with the moustache, isn't it? And then he keeps on growing that piece of flesh that was inside. It keeps on growing. When it grows, it becomes very big. And people start saying, oh, you look much bigger than your dad. Or you look bigger than your mom. And things like that. That piece of flesh, what was inside. So, and then talks big things in this world. And finally, everything is finished and the flesh goes away from this world. So where is that person then who has come? Where has he gone? Came and he has gone. From where did he come? Nobody knows. Where has he gone? Nobody knows. Isn't it? That is why when Krishna mentions that in the Bhagavad Gita, have you noticed that? Avyaktadini Bhutani. From Avyaktam comes this life. Try to think that, what Krishna is saying to us. Avyaktadini Bhutani Tatraha Paridevana says. I think it is in the second chapter. No. Avyaktadini Bhutani. Yeah, 228. Try to understand that verse, what Krishna is pointing it to us. 228. Krishna is saying that you are giving so much importance to you, your body and your life in this world. Vidyananda Swami is saying like this, it's all nothing, this is all it matters really. He says, Avyaktadini Bhutani and Vyaktam Madhyani Bharata Avyakta Nidhanani Eva Tatragasa Nidevana. That's all. He says, Avyaktadini Bhutani. In the beginning, no idea what we were. All we know, if you look back in our, everybody has to agree with this, isn't it? Even scientists will agree with this. They think they talk about big science, but where is the science in all these things? Semen and blood joining together turned into a piece of flesh in the womb. He stayed there for some time. Suddenly from that head comes out. And then 2 hands comes out. And then 2 legs comes out. 10 months it stays inside and then it comes out from the womb. After coming out, it talks big things and does try to do big things in this world, so-called world. And one day, it closes all the show here, everything is finished and it's gone. Where did it come from? Nobody knows. Where is it gone? Nobody knows. Krishna is saying here, Avyaktamini Bhutani, all Bhutam living entities is coming from Avyaktam. Avyaktam means unknown source, unmanifested. I think the translation is in the beginning unmanifested. Basically what is saying is Avyaktam means not clear where it's coming from. But in the middle, it gives you an impression everything is very real. Everything is very clear. I got my body, I got my name, I got my passport, I belong to this country, and I got my wife, I got my children, I got my house, I got my mortgage, all bills have been paid on time, and I am so particular about everything. Krishna is asking, Vyaktam Adhyani Bharata, in the middle you are taking this so seriously, what's going on here. Try to go a little bit deeper, because he says, Avyaktam Idhananyeva. At the end also is Avyaktam, beginning is also Avyaktam. Tatraga Paridevana, he says. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when they are annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Why make this life so serious affair like that? Point Krishna is saying to us is that without knowing what you are, what is the point of talking about these things so much? Without knowing who you are, what you are. Oh, that is why he mentions here, like this Tapraga, like Devana. Because for some time ago it was Avyaktam. After a while again it is Avyaktam. In the middle is what you are saying, this drama at the moment. So here, all it is, what Krishna's point is, all what you are doing is you are making a lot of noise here. Coming here and not making a lot of drama and the noise, and then you are going. And that is what that verse is saying. Kade kanda kaste putra samsaravayam ativa vichitraha. The same thing. Kade kanda kaste putra samsaravayam verse 8. Ativa vichitra. Kasya tvamva uda anayada tattvam chindaya taniham jata. Think about it. Acharya is also saying the same thing. So, we have a short break. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, Avyaktadini Bhutani, Krishna is saying, Avyaktadini Bhutani Vyaktam Madhyani Bharata Avyakta Nidhananyeva Tatraga Paridevana. That is Krishna's point. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktam madhyani bharata avyakta nidhanani eva tatraga haridevana. So, in the beginning, avyaktam. In the beginning it is avyaktam. After some time, again it is avyaktam. And in the middle, when you see this thing happening. Which one? What we talked about all this time. That Shukla Shonika Rupam, that is Shuklam and Shonikam. The blood and the semen joined together and then it became a piece of flesh. And inside the womb it started growing. And after some time, hair came out, 2 hands came out, 2 legs came out from that. And then one day it came out from the womb. All these things happened inside, isn't it? And one day he came out from the womb. When he came out, we call it and gave him a name for that. And then he gave him a passport also. After that, isn't it? So you can have a passport now. And then says to him, now you are this. You are an Indian or you're an Englishman or you're an American or whatever it is. To this piece of flesh which was there. And then that piece of flesh is jumping up and down in this world, saying this, I am this, I am this, I am this, identifying with everything. I am a man, I am an engineer, I am a doctor, I am professional, I am American, I am European, all these things, that piece of flesh is, this is who is saying this, Vijayana Swami is saying this, he makes a good fun of the whole thing. He's talking about it like this, he says, then, he says here, Tadekanda Aste Putra, Samsara Ativa Vichitraka. This samsara material existence is really Vichitram. It's an unusual phenomenon, this samsara thing. And if you ask me where do we come from, I don't know. Where are you going? I don't know. Whose son are you? Oh, I am son of so and so, I say. And you will say, this is my father, that's my mother, and I belong to this community, or I belong to that community. How long? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chitraketu's story, if you read, you will see what happens there. Chitraketu didn't have any children, isn't it? So Angiras came there. And Angiras, he says to Angiras, I need a son. I need a son, he says to him. So Angiras has actually come to speak to him about self-realization. And he's asking for a son. Who? Our Chitraketu. He's asking for a son. Like all of us, we also want something for ourselves. But if Krishna says to us about spiritual life, we'll say, well, that's not what I want now. I want something different. So this same problem, Chitraketu also had the same problem. He says to him that Chitraketu's mind was really going through a hard time because he had no children and that struggle. So Angiras thought that this is not the right time to talk to him about spiritual life, and therefore if I talk to him about spiritual life it will not work. Angiras realized this, not ordinary people. Angiras realized this. So therefore what did he do? He said, oh, let's have a fire sacrifice straight away, he said. That's what we do nowadays, isn't it? If you want to make something bona fide, we start a fire sacrifice straight away. Put 4 bricks together, bring some few pieces of wood and some ghee or oil and pour into swaha, starts, and then you tell all your sankalpam you say, and we have got a Hindu priest to do it also for us, and we are paying a good donation to him and to everybody, and my sankalpam, this is my sankalpam, we say. And that's exactly what Angiras done with Chitraketu. Angiras realized there's no one talking to this man anymore. He's not willing to listen. What do you do then? Set up the fire. That's what he did. He said, let's have a fire sacrifice, he said. And he said, okay, I'll sit here, he said, perform this. And Angiras decided that once I perform this sacrifice, from that sacrifice, that some Havisa came out from that in the form of some payasam that was come out from that. He says to Angiras says to Chitraketu, give it to your wife, Rudagiri, and you will have a son. He said, because Chitraketu was very pleased, and Angiras was very unhappy inside, because he was very strict. He has come for something else. He was very unhappy about it. And while going from there, Angiras says to him, my dear king, because he was a great king, he said, Chitraketu, that he will have a son, but one day that son is going to give you a lot of distress also. So when Angiras said that second part what he said, Chitraketu heard through this and left it through the other. Didn't want to take notice of it. The first part he took it very seriously. When is Rudagiri going to have a baby? That was the only thing what was going through Chitraketu's life. Baby was born, and it so happened that king was in bliss, absolute bliss. Somebody is there to manage the kingdom now, isn't it? That was his concern, one thing. But destiny was something different meant to happen. The other queens of Chitraketu, they felt envious of her, decided to kill this baby, kill the child, and they did. Eventually what happened, Rudagiri and Chitraketu was in a great distress. And at that time, Angiras says to him that if you look at the 6th canto, you will see this interesting statement there. 6:14 and verse is 29. Verse 29. He says, read that verse, very good. Aha, Mrugabhim Rajan, Bhavidegastavalmajaha, Harsham, Shogam, Pradastubhyam, Idi Brahmasuto Yayao. He says here, my dear king, Ataham Bhadim Rajan, that you will get a son who will give you happiness and who will give you distress as well. He will give you distress as well. After saying this, he left. That's all he said. Chitraketu said this to, Angiras said this to Chitraketu. That you will have a son who will give you happiness and he will give you a lot of distress also. And saying this, he has gone from there. He has gone from there. So when this happened, then what happened then? That what was a benediction given like that? That also you have to ask the question, isn't it? See, Srimad Bhagavatam is not katha. If you start thinking it's katha, it will become a katha at the end. It's not katha, it's meant to make us think that why was a benediction given like that? To Angiras could have given a different benediction, isn't it? But instead he decided to give this benediction to him. That initially, if you remember, he told Chitraketu, look Chitraketu, I look back into your previous life and I can see that you are not going to have a child. That is your karma bhala. Prarabdha is like that. You are not going to have any children. That's your prarabdha. But Chitraketu says, you are a great sage. That's the same approach what we do, isn't it? You are a great sage. If you can't do it, who can do it? This is Chitraketu's approach. So Angiras got tired of him and he said to him, alright, then you can have a son. Because when somebody is so strongly attached, then it's very difficult to point in talking anything to that person. That's what he was saying. Then, to give you happiness and then distress. This is our swabhavam. Our nature is like that. And that is what Angiras has spoken there. Angiras is actually portraying us there. Even if Krishna is saying to us that material world is place of misery and distress and everything, still we say, as long as a little bit happiness is getting from here, it's okay. Then we will ignore those verses. We won't open that chapter where it says it's misery. We will read some other chapter where Krishna is talking about the spiritual world or something like that, where we don't have anything to worry about. That chapter will take. Anything related to our life in this world, when Krishna starts talking, we don't want to hear about that. So here, what happened was, the child was born and Chitraketu was very happy. And when the childhood also is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, if the child gets a little cold, there is tension in the house. Kridadevi and Chitraketu both are under serious tension. And you can see that when the child was born, great happiness. Afterwards, continuously distress. So, continuous series of distresses after that. Loka logo paramparaya manishya. In Ramayana, Ramachandra says this. Ramachandra says this. The child died, the king cried. Chitraketu cried. And Angiras came again. Angiras came again. He asked, Angiras, no, why he is crying. And still he is asking, why are you crying? He says, the king says, the child died. He says. So, at that time, what did Angiras say to him? Angiras says to him, my dear king, it's not only the child will die, you will also die. That's how he told him, the king, to Chitraketu. And if you look into Bhagavatam, let's look at those verses. These are important things in the Bhagavatam. We don't read all those things, then we'll read something else. If you look into the 6:15, verse 6:15, verse 21. That is very good. That was what Angiras says there. Angiras is saying to verse 21. Athuna putrinam tavo bhavadaivanubhuyate evam daya griha rayo vividhi aishwarya sambharaha shabdadescha vishayascha ya rajyam bhudaya mahim rajyam vedam kosho mritya amatya sabuljanaha. Then sarve dushuraseneni shogamoha bhayatiyaha Gandharvanagara prakhya Swapnamaya Manoratha. Swapnamaya Manoratha. Now, there it says there that Drishyamana vinarthena na drishyante mano bhavaha karmabhyayado nana karmani manaso abhavan. So, you can see all of this, he says, what all he mentions here, isn't it? That 21. Now you have, says to him, you got this happiness of having a son, haven't you? He says to him, you got the happiness now of having a son, isn't it? He says to him, not only the son, but your so-called wife, your wealth, and all other opulences what you have, and Shabdadescha Vishayascha, that means all the five senses, what you are enjoying, Shabdam, Sparsham, Rupam, Rasam, Gandham, the five senses, happiness from that. Then this temporary opulence of your kingdom, earth, land, your strength, your treasury, your servants, your ministers, your friends, all of them will create distress. What kind? Shokam, distress. Moham, illusion, and bhayam, fear, and arti, and continuous distress from that. And what else he says? They are all Gandharva Nagara Prakhya Swapnamaya Manoratha. They are like Gandharva Nagara. Swapnamaya Manoratha, he says. That means, Gandharva Nagara means, what do they say? They say like this, isn't it, that you create a Gandharvas, something you are imagining that it exists. In your imagination you create a world of happiness. That's what it is. Gandharva Nagara is called. And Gandharva Nagara Prakhya Swapnam Maya Manoratha. It is in your dreams, like the dream, like the Maya, like the what the mind has created. It's all a part of that. Swapnamaya Manoratha. You will see this expression Swapnamaya Manoratha in 4 or 5 places in the Bhagavatam when some great sage is trying to cut through this knot of illusion. Because we don't understand this, that when he is saying to us that Gandharva Nagarapakya Swapnamaya Manoratha. That's a very important statement. Gandharva Nagarapakya Swapnamaya Manoratha. It is a Swapnam, that means this world is a Swapnam. It is a dreaminess. It is Maya, it is illusion. And you are traveling here in your chariot of the mind, which is also another temporary thing. So, in the world of, in this dream world, in the illusion, and in this mental chariot we are traveling, and that is this world what we have created in front of us, isn't it? And in that world we are running around and saying that this is right and this is wrong, and this is what I do and this is what I don't, and all sorts of things. So that is why it says in verse 24, Drishyavana vinarthena na drishyante manobhavaha karma vyadhyayato nana karmani manaso abhavan. All these things, what you are seeing here, without any sense, he is saying here, it's all coming from the mind. It's all coming from the mind. And after a while, you don't see them anymore. Because due to our Purva Karma Vasana, which is in us, Karma Vasana inside us, we are absorbed in the meditation of our life in this world. Due to Karma Vasana. That's why this planning comes in life. We start planning life has to be like this and this is the perfection of life. All this is coming from the Purva Karma Vasana inside us. And from there, karma comes. Karma begins from there. So you can see there, Angiras is saying the same thing, what Krishna is saying to Uddhava, isn't it? What did Krishna say to Uddhava? If you look into the 28th chapter, you will see there in the Egadasi Skandam, if you look into the 29th chapter, Krishna is saying to him, verse number 4, in 28th chapter, 11:28, 4. Kim Bhadram Kim Abhadram Varam Dvaidasya Swarakya Rajodinam Mudam Manaso Dhyatameva. So spiritual life is only when we come out of the grip of this mind. We are always asking questions, isn't it, about everything. People have so many questions to ask. But answering those questions won't solve the problem. Won't solve the problem. Problem is not solved with that. You may temporarily think that again with your mind and intelligence that I got this answer, but what about this? Krishna says something else somewhere else. What about that? And then if you get an answer so on something else, you'll find another word somewhere else. So while going through Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, you just have to know at some point what is the message. What is the message? In fact, in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna opened the Bhagavad Gita, he started with one important statement there, that if you do not have that Vyavasaya Buddhi in you, then coming back and asking, saying so many other things is useless. That Vyavasaya Buddhi must be there. Krishna says there, isn't it? I mean, it is very frightening actually, that even after explaining things, it's not getting in. We are not able to see, able to understand when Krishna is saying something. We are finding in the Bhagavad Gita something what will suit me now for the moment. That's what I am looking for the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, in fact, let's look at it this way. When Krishna opened Bhagavad Gita, what did he say first thing? He said this in the beginning so many times in the second chapter. Krishna opens with transcendental knowledge first. First he defines what is Satyam, what is Satya, what is Asatya. He has told us that. Is it not? He told us what is Sat and what is Asat. Now, in the Bhagavad Gita, if you find, he will talk about sometimes about Asat also, when he is talking to Arjuna about it. But if you start taking the Asat part of Krishna's instruction and seeing that this is what Krishna has said, then that means you have not understood what Bhagavad Gita is saying to us. Krishna is saying, when the second chapter was opened, he began with this understanding. First he told Arjuna, what did he say to him? He says to Arjuna that before that, he says, Kutasvam kashmalamidam vishame samuvastidam anavadya jushtam aswargyam adhirtim karam Arjuna, he says. There is no point in talking big things when it is unavoidable. It is not what the traditional Vedic culture is. Anavadya jushtam aswargyam adhirtim karam Arjuna. That is the second verse in the second chapter. He says, where Krishna begins this Bhagavad Gita, isn't it? And then he mentioned, telling Arjuna, Klavyam asmadamam partha, naivatai bhavadyade, shubhram hridayadav bharyam, tekto tishnavaram tava. 2 verses he spoke and stopped. And immediately Arjuna's weak mind came about. And he says to him that Katham Vishnu Aham Sankhya, there's so many verses he's spoken about. But by now, Arjuna started realizing there's no point in arguing with Krishna. Krishna has come to tell us the truth. He didn't want to tell us something to please us. That's not Krishna's purpose of speaking Bhagavad Gita, to please us. That's not in his head. Krishna is saying to us the truth. That is why Bhagavad Gita is given that position as the speaker of the truth, and the message is also the truth. So when Arjuna said, Karpanya doshavakanda svabhava, 7th verse, Pachamita dharma sammuda chedaha, yachayesam nishtam bhuvidanye shishasteham shadimam tvam pravannam. He says, I don't know what I have to do. And he surrenders to Krishna. At that time, Krishna caught on that and he started talking. And you will see that from verse 11 onwards, that is direct message to Arjuna, saying to him, Ashocyan Ashojastvam Pratyavalam Shavashase Gatasuna Gadam Sumsha Nanushochandi Pandiraha. That is the beginning of the instruction. From then onwards, every single verse if you look, you will see it is only the truth that is spoken. We mentioned this when we discussed second chapter. That is where the message is. Very serious message. Krishna is talking about it. That's where Nasadomitine Bhava, everything comes, isn't it? And then he kept on and on the verse 20, 23, 24, talking about this. All of that is nothing but knowledge. Nothing but pure knowledge. Unadulterated, pure spiritual knowledge. That's what it is, those verses are. All of that. And we carried on like that. And finally, at that point, you can see that very end of that, after saying all that, very end of that in verse 31, he says, now I've spoken all these things to you. If you can't go by that, as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement than that in fighting. Yeah? On religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. Now, if you read Bhagavad Gita and start thinking that, oh, as a Kshatriya you should fight, is it not a duty if you ask that question? That means you have not understood Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying, you see, knowledge of the self is the most valuable thing in this world. Not fighting the war or Kshatriya. Kshatriya is all based on the body, isn't it? But knowledge of self is superior to that. That's why in the beginning, Krishna is saying the message direct. If Arjuna is not caught on with that, as finally we also do like that, isn't it? Suppose you have problem with somebody at home. You gave them all the sound advice, right advice, everything. He's not willing to listen. And you start realizing that the person cannot understand what you are saying. What did you do finally? You will say to him, look, either you put it like this to him, I know you are intelligent, you will make the right decision. You will say, you know that he cannot make the right decision. Still you will tell him like this. I know you will make the right decision because you want to come out of it. Because you realize that it's not going to work. That person is not willing to take your instruction. So it is in that mood this verse was spoken. Then you have to get it first. It's not Bible like Quran, they give you direct instruction like this banging on to us. No. What it's saying here is, Krishna is saying the nature of the truth to us first. Truth is Nasato Vidyate Bhavo Na Bhavo. This is not, it's not going in. That is why we are looking for other verses in the Bhagavad Gita which will fit in with our vasana. That's what it is. You see? So, while studying Bhagavad Gita, this one important point we have to remember. What is the message? What is the message? If you want to move spiritually further, we need to take that important message of Krishna saying. So just like we do at home, somebody is not listening, what do we do? I know you are intelligent, you will think about it and you will make the right decision and you leave it at that. You can't take it any more further. Because what will happen? If you push too far, the relationship will break. So that's the only way left then. So that way you can come out of it. In the same way, Krishna is saying this to Arjuna, you are a Kshatriya, so you know what you have to do and get put out of it. Never once Krishna has pushed anybody to do anything. Never once. Always saying, put the right thing in front of us and tell us, now you do what you like. It's your choice. Whether you want to go for celebrating the marriage or whether you want to go to the battlefield to fight or what, whatever you want to do, you can do. It's your choice. That's the principle. So, here, while discussing this verse, we have seen here Chitraketu's situation we are talking about. That he says to him that I am hi dehino, verse 25. I am hi dehino deho dravya jnana kriyatmadaha dehino vividha klesha sandava prudadaha. He says that dehi, Deham, Dehi, body, soul. Then, it's this Dehi, it has got these three distresses, isn't it? Adhyatmikam, Adibhaudikam, Adidevikam. Three things. These three things are in relationship with the body. Relationship with the body. And you have to know, and here says to Chitraketu, you have to know, he says, and here says to him, you have to know that this body's nature is adhyatmikam, adibhaudikam, adidevikam, and that is what is causing the problem. That all kinds of distress is coming from that, and that is only in relationship with the deham, not with the dehi. Dehi is the soul, not with the dehi. It is only with the deham it happens. And therefore, you will see the last words there. Tasma, therefore, Swastena manasa vimurshya yadim alpanaha dvaite dhruvartha vishamam tejopam upashamam avisha. He says to him, Tasma, therefore, he says, Swastena manasa, mind in a shanti state, in a very peaceful state, be situated in that, and know your destination, what is going through here, and give up this Dvaita Prapancha. Dvaita Prapancha means where there is, everything is duality. Dvaita Prapancha. That's what he says here. Dvaite Dvaka Vishrambham. Dvaita means everything is duality here, isn't it? You know that. Everybody knows that. But still we would like to be the duality. We like the duality. That's what we want. What is duality? Duality means this, that somebody is good, somebody is bad. Somebody is high, somebody is lower. And something is, in Vyavaharam you may need all these things. But on a spiritual level you can't bring duality into it. If you bring duality in spiritual life, there will be a long way to go there, to come out of it. Remember, we are talking about it for a long time now. I mentioned this also before. When you study Srimad Bhagavatam, you are thinking Prahlada is my friend because I am like Prahlada, and Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyasha are the demons, other side, goodies and the baddies, isn't it? That's all. That understanding must go from inside because that is Dvaitam. That is Dvaitam. In the beginning, it is all Dvaitam. You can see devotees also who have first time read Bhagavatam and studied Bhagavatam. In the beginning, the relationship is like that. Some characters in the Bhagavatam we like, some characters we don't like. Isn't it? Some people say Durvasa Maharshi. Oh. Durvasa, as soon as you hear the name, you get a repulsion. Why? He gets angry so quickly. So everybody keeps away from Durvasa. And they also say that the Ambarish Maharaj past time, in Durvasa Maharshi, they think he deserves it. He put, because Ambarish is on our side, he's like a devotee like us, who follows all Ekadashi seriously. Whereas Durvasa, who is he? He's just a jnani, what does he know? That's how, but this understanding will be there in the beginning when you read first time Bhagavad. But when you move on, you will know who is Durvasa. What is Durvasa's position? It is this Durvasa who Krishna considered is my spiritual master, he says to Rukmini. Krishna says about Durvasa. Because jnanis and realized souls are like that. They have done so many things in this world, pastimes, to educate us. Not for their pleasure. Durvasa had no intention to go and disturb Ambarish Maharaj. But he says to Ambarish later that your name should be glorified in this world, therefore I have done this to you, he says. Not with the intention of disturbing Ambarish, he did that. Your name should be glorified because through that particular pastime, Ambarish Maharaj got glorified, isn't it? As a great devotee and for his determination in the spiritual life. That's what it is coming out from that. But Durvasa is least bothered about everything else. Durvasa has direct access to Vaikuntha Kailasam anywhere where he wants to go. Such a great personality he was. He is the very person who eventually cursed all Krishna's. Krishna is used to Durvasa to curse the children. All, isn't it? Samba and many others. And the first word came out from Durvasa's mouth, not from anybody else. When they cursed Samba, when they put all the pregnant form, they dressed up in front of him and all that. That's one. Secondly, if you look at Durvasa, you see Durvasa went to the heavenly planet. And when he went there, what happened? When he was coming to the garden of the heavenly planets, the Apsaras women were making garlands there. And when they saw Durvasa Maharshi walking in, what did they do? They were frightened of him because of his nature. What did they do? They went and paid obeisances to him first, so that he disappeared Apsara. And whatever garland they were making, they handed it over to Durvasa Maharshi straight away and paid their respects and walked out from there quietly. What did Durvasa do? What did Durvasa do with the garland? Durvarasam, that's what Durvasa means. Durvarasa means that his food, he doesn't eat like us, rice, dal, sabji and all that. It's not Durvasa's food. Durvarasam means there is this grass, karga, called Durva grass. The juice he takes out and a few drops he takes it. That is his meal. That is what Durvasa takes as food. So that is how his name Durvasa came. Durvarasam, he takes it and he became Durvasa. So, and his dress is worse to look at, his clothing and all that is always in a very, is not washed in the washing machine or anything like that. It's always dirty. And matted hair, everywhere never cuts the hair, big beard, everything. That's the personality like that, but always in a very transcendental state. So Durvasa, while walking, what will he do with this? If he puts this nice garland around his neck, it won't look very matching, is it? That Durvasa was conscious of. He didn't want the garland. So while walking, he saw Indra standing on top of his Airavadam and practicing different gymnastics on top of that, on the Airavadam. So he threw that garland to Indra, what he thought. You can have it, he said, he gave it to him. Indra, not knowing that Durvasa can be a trouble, he just took the garland and put it on the forehead of the elephant, Airavata. And because of the flowers smell, because it is from the heavenly planets, not from our gardens, you say, the flowers have very powerful smell. So some bees were coming to the flowers and they started buzzing around the elephant's head. In that process, these bees started going into the elephant's ear also. The elephant got upset. He realized that this garland is causing the problem. So he pulled that elephant, pulled the whole garland from the top and he had put it on the ground and with the feet crushed it, ground it with the feet. Durvasa saw this. He gave the garland to Indra, and Indra did not have any respect for the garland. alright, let you all heavenly planets become old people with all diseases. He blessed them and he left. What happened then? Jara and Mara both came. Old age and disease both came. Whole heavenly planet was full of people and all of them coughing and looking for NHS prescriptions. The whole place was in that state. Imagine a whole planet full of people who are 80, 90 years old. Even now, only a small percentage we are crying. We are saying there is nobody to pay for their pension. Who will pay for their pension? And all we are asking. Now, even with so many young people. Imagine a whole planet full of such age. That age group, 80, 90. So that's what has happened there. The whole planet was suffering. All of them old people, all of them sick. All of them sick also. Because he has blessed them both, old age and disease. You can have, all of you must have this. And he left saying this. And then the whole thing started. It is because of that Durvasa only they had churned milk ocean. It is from that churning the milk ocean we have got Mahalakshmi came from that. Vishnu married to Lakshmi after that. Is it not? So a number of things after that. Vamanamurti appeared before this because of that. Mahavali and Vamanamurti, all those things happened because of, not only that, because of that fighting between the demons and the demigods after the milk ocean was churned in the nectar cave. From there, all those personalities who were killed by Vishnu, who did not get liberated, they all have come again in Krishna's appearance and Krishna had to kill them, including Kamsa. Kamsa was Kalaveni in that pastime there, isn't it? So you can see the power of Durvasa, what Durvasa means, isn't it? So here, these sages who knows what they are talking to us about it. So Dvaidam is a problem. Dvaidam is a problem. So he says here, this, if you keep on thinking this Dvaidam is reality, you will never have any peace, he says here, you will never have Shanti. If you start thinking Dvaidam is the truth, and it is eternal, and it will give you happiness, and if it is real, such a person will never have any peace. Therefore, give up all these things and come to the state of Shanti. He says there, isn't it? Tasma Sostena Manasa Vimursham Yadim Almanaha Dvaide Dvartha Vishramam Tejam Upashamam Avisha. That's what that means. Tejam Upashamam Avisha. Upashamam means that Shanti states. Come to that Shanti state, come out of the Dvaidam. He mentions there. Come out of Dvaidam. So, Dvaidam is giving us trouble, but we don't know that Dvaidam is giving us the trouble. So, Dvaidam, that is bothering us here, isn't it? But initially, the Dvaidam will be there, but sometime or the other, when we go through Bhagavatam, you will notice that if you don't come out of Dvaidam, you will find Bhagavatam it will not be clear where is Bhagavatam telling us. That's what I'm saying, that Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu and all that, initially you may hate them, but later on you will start liking them. At least they were higher than us in many ways, isn't it? That they have a relationship with Krishna. And that is what Bhagavatam is trying to tell us. So here you will notice there that because when Angira said all these things to him, still Chitraketu was thinking that he could have at least given life back to that child. After all, he helped to get this child, isn't he? Child was born out of Angira's mercy. Angiras gave that birth to the child after performing the sacrifice. It was Angira's power of mantra that created the child to come. Now, if he can do that, can he not get that child back into life again? Instead of preaching to me all this kind of because Chitraketu is our man, isn't it? Like us, we don't want to be told the truth. What we want is something what we like. We want to hear. People are like that, isn't it? So he says to him that when Angira said all these things to him, he says Angiras realized that this man is not going to change. This man is not going to change. So So he decided that let's get him back, the child back. If he hears from the child directly, it may have some impact. So he called him back, called the child back. And that is in the next chapter, you can see the 16th chapter. He's calling him back. And Sri Narada Maharshi is saying, by this time, second time when Angiras came, Narada Maharshi also came with him. And Narada Maharshi started talking to him. Jivatma, he says Jivatma, calls him Jivatma. Pashya, Badram Me, Madaram Pidaram Chale, Suhudo Bhandava Sapta, Shusham Dolkadaya Purusham, Kalayavanam Samavishya, Sheshamayu Suhudvada, Bhumshu Bhogan Mudi Prata, Adidishtu Upasana. He says, my dear Jivatma, no name because he has left the body, isn't it? So this is the name. So when you have no name, how will you call somebody? Hey Jivatma, come here. Alright. So that's how they will call it. Hey Jivatma, all let down auspicious things for you. Because of you, your parents are suffering like anything. So come and have a look at them. See their misery. He says, why don't you take your body like before and stay in the throne and remaining time in your life, enjoy your life with the parents and your friends and family, and live with them and give them some solution, some solace for their misery. Who said this? Narada Maharshi said this to Jivatma. At that time, Jivatma is replying back. Jiva Vacha, he says. Jiva is talking. Kasmin Janmanyam Mahyam Pitaro Madaro Abhavan Karma Brahmima Nasya Devadiyam Nayo Nishu Bandhunyatiri Madhyastam Mitro Udasin Vidyushaha Sarvayehi Sarvesham Bhavandi Kramasho Vidhaha Yatha Vastudini Panyani Hemani Tatastadaha Paradandi Nareshivam Jivo Yorishu Katrasho Nitya Swartasya Sambandho Anityo Drishyade Indrasho Yavadyasi Sambandho Mamatum Tavadevahi Evam Yonigado Jiva Sanityo Nirahamkrada Yavadyatrovadabheda Tatra Taval Satvabhi Tasyatal. Jiva is saying, Jiva is asking, I have gone through different bodies. This is the Jiva state, isn't it? It's not that he has not taken gross body yet. So he's saying, I remember when I lived as a demigod. Then he says, I remember the birds and other things. And in this human body also, I have gone through so many different bodies, different species. And that is all still within me. This state is there with the Jiva. Jiva will know when he loses his gross body, so many other bodies it has gone through. We'll come back to that again. When we forget all that, as soon as we get a gross body and come out of a womb, we forget everything. Inside the womb, we will remember how many lifetimes we have gone through. So when he comes up, he says here that Bhogadharma is all coming back to me, and I am stuck in that. And which life were they my parents? The Jiva is asking this question. In which life were they my parents? So he says here, for everyone, everybody in one life or the other comes as relations or enemies or friends or their protectors or somebody who is doing in trouble, some form, everybody comes in some form or the other in every life. Somebody will come as friend, enemy, something like that in every life. So, this gold, he says, is meant for transactions, isn't it? They use it for transactions. When it goes from one person, if I have got some gold coins, I say it's mine. I hand it over to somebody else and I purchase something, he says it's his. It is his. All the gold coins. We say like that. So similarly, the Jiva also, when he keep on changing the body from one body to another, if I am the son of one set of parents, they say that I am their child. When I change my body and go to another place, somebody else take ownership of me. Just like the bank note. When the Barclays gives you the note from the counter, you take it. Up to that point, it was Barclays money. When it came to your hands, it's your money. You have gone and handed over the money to somewhere else, in the Budgets or some other shop, and it becomes their money. Similarly, Jiva is saying here, I was owned by somebody as their son at one time. Now I become somebody else's son. I'm going to be. They will say that I'm their son then. And after that, I'll go somewhere else and somebody else will say to me, I'm their son. Whose son am I? Jiva is asking that question. Whose son am I? When that question was asked, Chitraketu immediately came to his senses. He says, it is only my foolishness that I have been holding on to this thinking it's my son, my son, my son, my daughter, my this, my this. Who is this me and who is this child? What is the relationship? That question came out in Chitraketu's mind. And Chitraketu, at that time, that is that all the verses, Jiva Vacha you can see. Right from verses 4 to 11. Nadana almahi almahi vananna dosham kriyadharam udasina vadasina karavaragishwara. That when Jiva spoke some spiritual truth in those verses, all of them was the spiritual truth or behind it. And then Shivabrahma is saying here that after that the Jiva left the place, and all of them who were listening to Jiva at that time, they also realized the truth, what was happening there, and they also got out of their distress. So you can see, Ajnanam is the problem. Not the misery is the problem. Ajnanam is the problem. Avidya is the problem. When we are completely confounded with avidya, ajnanam inside, then it is very difficult to come to terms with Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam will always wake us up, always will tell us the truth. Bhagavatam has no business to please us. It does not want us to stuck in this world, adjusting this and adjusting that. The quicker we realize the truth and come out of it, the better we will escape from here. Otherwise there is no possibility. That's what Bhagavatam has gone to say to us. Whether it is Krishna saying in Ekadasaskandam, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, or all the other devotees, they all have to say to us is only one thing. Become serious in spiritual life. Otherwise there is no way to escape from here. Otherwise come back and continue with the mistake. So, we'll continue the next